Therapies are compounded and have not been evaluated nor approved by the FDA. Provider prescription required. See website for details.
What's going on, everybody? Philip Lindsay here. Denver's recent hailstorm hit hard. Golf ball size hail, damaged shingles, cracked siding, dented gutters. You might not see it from the ground, but your roof took a beating. And I don't want you to wait around for a leak to find out. Call Monarch Construction and Roofing today for your free no-obligation storm damage inspection. Monarch works directly with your insurance company, so you don't have to. Monarch Construction and Roofing, your local Denver storm damage experts. Visit monarchroofing.com to schedule your appointment today. Monarch Roofing is your official roofer of the Denver Broncos.
Switching your account numbers is hard. Being forced to switch, even worse. That's why at Belco Credit Union, we want to pay you to switch. From June 1st to August 31st, we're offering a $300 bonus when you open a new checking account with a qualifying direct deposit of $500 or more. They're changing your account number. You can change who you bank with. Go to belco.org/switch for full offer details. Insured by NCUA. Membership eligibility required. Conditions and restrictions apply. Belco. Banking for everyone.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Call 877 Cars for Kids to reach a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now or go to carsforkids.org.
7 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too?
Growing a business is hard enough. Figuring out where to advertise shouldn't be a thing that holds you back. Your customers are listening to this station. Heck, you are. They're streaming Denver's biggest games on their TVs. They're tuned into the podcasts everyone's talking about. We help you show up in all three with one plan, one team, and results you can actually see. We've helped businesses like yours grow for years. Let us show you how. Visit DenverSports.com and click Advertise with Us.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver.
You're listening to Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan presents the Honorable Judge.
Ireland. I've never been. Well, I've been out of the country once. I've been to Mexico for a bachelor party. And also our honeymoon was a cruise. And so technically we were out of the country for that. But, well, I guess I went to Canada. You know, I'm picking these lights. It's the sports dead zone. So you really need something like the Dan Jacobs Show to get you through the weekends. But we're just going to miss one. So that's okay. So we're going to miss one Dan Jacobs Show, and then we'll be back. So we're going over to Ireland. DeLorean Eurofest, the first one in, I think, 7 years. We get to go where they built the DeLorean. Did you know that the DeLorean was, I think, the only Irish-made car ever? The Titanic and the DeLorean built in Belfast, Northern Ireland. So they actually still they maintain the test track. So we get to drive DeLoreans around the test track. Go check out the Titanic Museum. Game of Thrones Studios. I've never seen that show, but part of the whole festivities will be going to that, which is cool. And, so a nice trip planned. We're going to stay in some castles, all that. So I'm really excited. For me, it's like Christmas. We got to not get through the show. I have the opportunity, the privilege of being with you for the next 3 hours, and then I'm going to go pack and all that stuff. And I actually got a acting thing tomorrow before we have to head to the airport, like a table read. Pretty exciting for another production I've been cast in. And my second table read, I think. So anyway, that'll be fun. I got a lot of stuff going on, and want to get the table set for you. I'm just looking at the RamosLaw.com text line. Dan, you need to look closer at the post-Beatles career of those guys. George Harrison particularly had some good hits early, and then in the 80s, Lennon had the album Double Fantasy. McCartney had success with Wings and Live or Let Die, the greatest Bond song of all time. Well, I didn't say they had none. I said they had a little. But when they were so prolific working together as a group, like why all of a sudden when Paul McCartney could just sit down, and just one after another, go watch the documentary that came out, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe it was 6, 7 years ago. But they're just working together. I don't even think it was their last album, but they were already talking about breaking up. And they're like, what do we want to do for this? And part of it was, we have this whole list of songs that we kind of worked on back in the day, and we never really did anything with them. Let's just work those out. And they would just sit down and create all-time great music. Where did that go? It's not that Paul McCartney hasn't tried, but like, why then was he able to produce such a wide range of great music that people loved, that still stand the test of time? And then after that, I'm not saying he had no career, but why isn't Wings still out there rocking? Because they weren't that good. That's why. There's a couple Wings songs. He did some solo stuff. I remember he was collaborating with Michael Jackson. I'm not saying he had zero hits, but like, for example, he's 80-some years old. He just released a new album. And I've heard a lot about the fact he released an album. I've heard not one person go, oh my God, that one song is awesome. Like, I've heard nobody talk about any of the songs on there. And he's out doing the rounds, doing press, doing shows. I don't know. It's just something that fascinates me. The idea of, just in general, a one-hit wonder at all. I mean, there are so many of those one-hit wonders, or one album wonders, and then it's just kind of Now you have Taylor Swift out there that has gone across multiple genres, and she produces music. May not necessarily, there's a couple of her songs I actually don't mind at all, but she's producing in volume bunches of songs that her fan base just absolutely loves. Now, I don't know if at the end of history, if she's going to be, those songs will stand the test of time, like, I don't know, Beatles songs or whatever, Bob Dylan songs. I just say it's fascinating to me. That's all. I'm not saying the Beatles stunk. I like the Beatles. It's just curious to me how they could be that good and that prolific, and then they break up, and it's just kind of like, And George Harrison, I don't remember him. I remember this. I remember the Weird Al version of it, which is, this song is just 6 words long. This song is just 6 words long. Because that's what it was. It was George Harrison singing a song, the same verse over and over and over and over again. But come to find out, I thought, well, he wrote that. He didn't write that. That was a cover. What is it? It's going to take time, a whole lot of money. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that was a song that he kind of, his big song, and it wasn't even his. Which, by the way, I don't love George Harrison the way he treated people. But anyway, dang, Cooper should have called the judge. I don't know what that means. Who's Cooper? Sean, who's Cooper? What does that mean? What's that text in reference to?
You know what? He's got me a little bit puzzled just because we just got the cooking and we haven't quite gotten all the ingredients together to figure out what he's talking about.
Your Highness, get rid of that sappy Sunday morning theme song, too soft. Replace it with the U2 song, Sunday Bloody Sunday. That's a better song. So there, Lee the amputee.
Dan, I got some more context. It just hit me. I think he's referring to Jonathan Cooper.
Oh.
His recent trials and tribulations. He's in trouble. He should have called Dan Jacobs.
Yeah, back in the day. That I would have taken that case back in the day, but he needs to call Harvey Steinberg, which he probably has. If he's smart.
Wait a minute. You wouldn't take on a case of this magnitude?
Well, it has nothing to do with the magnitude. I don't do criminal law anymore. So I wouldn't take on the case. It doesn't matter that it's a Bronco or not a Bronco. It's actually, from what I've seen, it's and you got to be careful because you don't want to get canceled in today's day and age. But it seems like despite making headlines, if what we have seen is kind of coming, if it's remotely true or in that vein, it's not that big a deal. It was just he and his girl kind of got a little heated. They both did things that they shouldn't do, but happens to almost all of us, I think, so far. The difference is, I was saying this on the show yesterday, the difference is he's not Von Miller, so he gets arrested. By the way, it's compulsory. Like when there's these types of allegations, like for example, Patrick Waugh got arrested because he slammed a door during his prime here in Denver. He slammed the door and it damaged the door jamb or something. Well, his mother-in-law, I believe, called the cops, and the cops showed up, and they said, well, if there's damage at all and it's a domestic violence situation, we have to arrest you. However, that rule did not apply to Von Miller for some reason. With Von Miller, the cops go, uh-oh, it's Von Miller. They called the DA. He was a new DA, and he's like, I don't want any part of that. I don't want anything to do with that. And so Von walked. Poor Jonathan Cooper. I shouldn't say poor Jonathan Cooper, but Jonathan Cooper doesn't get the same VIP treatment that Von Miller has. So when we're talking last week about should we bring Von back? Well, no, we got Jonathan Cooper. Well, he's no Von Miller. So anyway.
Sounds like a room full of problem children.
Yeah,
just so far, just through the summer. I mean, now Dan, let me bounce this with you because we talked about this last week, and we said that the Walter Penner Group or this era of the Walter Penner Group doesn't have those type of guys that get themselves in bad situations, and then a week later, somebody ends up in a bad situation. Do you think that we jinxed them?
I wondered about that because I remember, because it wasn't just us. I remember hearing it on the station. Like, it was a centerpiece of the Von Miller conversation about how good of a culture they've built here, and we don't have guys that get in trouble and run around and stuff like that. And sure enough, within a few days, they have somebody getting arrested. But I'm just not going to inflame the situation. If I had lived a perfect life and I'd never made any mistakes, maybe I'd have a different perspective. But from what I've seen happen with this, it's just something that they're going to have to deal with and move on from. It doesn't mean Jonathan Cooper's a bad guy. It doesn't mean his significant other is a bad person. It means they ran hot. There was some passion in that relationship, and they're going to have to pay some consequences for it. And hopefully, they'll learn from that and they'll get better. I don't think this is a team of bad guys running around there in society. However, I will raise the question again that I've raised before. The Broncos, last time they won a championship, that's what they had, right? Didn't we have like TJ Ward throwing cocktail glasses in the strip club and Aqib Talib getting in, they had Pac-Man running around here for a while. He wasn't on the championship team. So if you ask Cam Newton, the Broncos were dirty thug-type players back then, and nobody seemed to mind. I was doing radio shows, and I would bring it up. I'm like, wait a minute, we're Denver. We're happy. We're not the Raiders. We don't play dirty. We do things the right way. And not a peep out of anybody in Broncos country about the fact that there was a perception around the league that the Broncos were dirty, that they were going to try and hurt you. They played over the line, and they were the new, I guess, Raiders of the time, but nobody cared. Sean, do we care?
Well, you're going to have to care because my question to you was going to be Now, let's say you've seen the ins and outs of this scenario, and you said that it's you obviously you've been pertinent to some details that most of the public hasn't been privy to. So my question to you would be, how do the Broncos move forward with Jonathan Cooper based off of the facts that are in place right now?
I don't think. Well, one, it may just get dismissed.
If it does get dismissed, then the Bronco country won't care. But let's say it doesn't get dismissed. Now the average person in Broncos country who loves their beloved Orange Crush, they're going to be a little bit light at the on the D line, and that could be
sign Vaughn?
Problematic.
Bring Vaughn back?
You almost have no choice now.
Yeah. It's interesting. Somebody says on the text line, Cooper will get off because he hired Harvey. That's from Mike. Oh, so he did hire Harvey. That's smart. Like, you hire Harvey. That's what you do.
Well, hiring Harvey sounds like a cop-out, though. What do you
mean?
That sounds like I could get away with something just as long as I get at Mr. Harvey for some help.
No, if I've been accused of something, I want the best representation possible. This is how good he is, Sean. I think you'll like this story.
I'm listening.
So you remember the Darren Williams situation, right? Brandon Marshall, if you believe some reports, Brandon Marshall was kind of the instigator in that. Like, they were in the club, he was talking smack, whatever, and the guys came out and retaliated, shot up the car, and obviously Darren Williams passed away, unfortunately. The guy that did the shooting hired Harvey. Okay, so he's now adverse to Brandon Marshall. Harvey is. Brandon Marshall separately got into trouble with domestic violence issues. Okay, so he and Harvey had been his attorney. Typically, in 99.999% of the cases, you can't, because Brandon Marshall's going to be a witness at the trial of, I can't remember the guy's name, Clark or something like that, the gang member that shot Darren Williams. So that would mean he's going to be cross-examined by his own attorney. Brandon Marshall is on the stand being cross-examined by the guy the attorney for the guy that shot at him and tried to murder him. And you know what Brandon Marshall said? Yeah, that's all right. I'm good. It's fine. I still want him as my attorney. So they waive the conflict because that's how good Harvey is. And guess what Harvey did? He won Brandon Marshall's trial. He's good. He goes up against the NFL and beats the NFL. So Harvey is the man that you hire when you get into these types of situations. And that's who Von Miller. That's who Von Miller hires. And Von Miller largely escapes penalties in these situations. I don't think they'll have much, unless there's something out there which I don't know, which is certainly possible. But I don't think Jonathan Cooper, hopefully he'll learn from it. Things happen. From what I've heard, it was both of them got a little heated. They were messing around with each other's phones, and things got a little out of hand. Why are you shaking your head?
Man, as soon as you say they were messing with each other's phones, I instantly got a little bit of a hurt in my stomach, right? I got a little stab in my stomach from just hearing that, just because I'm not one for going through people's phones, and I'm not one for anybody going through my phone. So
yeah, it wasn't going through the phones. It was like taking their phone. She took his phone because he was like, dude, I got to get out of here. This is getting too, something like that. So she took his phone so we could, because I hate to see it happen. I'm not going to kill Jonathan Cooper. I think that it'll probably just wash over. And as long as it ends there, we won't hear much of it. And I don't consider it to be an indictment of him. Is that fair?
Well, I mean, it is fair. I just have been in the car and I'm listening to Dover and Cecil. And I believe James was on filling in for Dover. But I'm sitting there listening, and they're breaking the news. And, obviously, we have a duty here to report the news on the radio. But, these types of situations, we wouldn't necessarily hear about them unless it was somebody of some type of status.
100%. And that's my thing. First off, I don't believe that people should necessarily be judged on their worst moments, because I've had a lot of them. I've been disappointed in myself more times than I can count. And things do happen in life. And that's part of the problem that we have in our society right now, is that the minute something bad happens, we want to cancel somebody or whatever and just destroy everything they've ever worked for, when the reality is So I'll give you an example, Sean. Remember Robert Kraft?
Yeah, I do.
The owner of the
New England Patriots.
New England Patriots. He
got away with some very heinous things.
He got in trouble at a massage parlor, right? Massage parlor. You're doing his thing there, right? I don't condone it. Not my deal. However, I knew somebody in the media that went on a tirade against Robert Kraft and what a scumbag he was and how he just wanted to basically ruin Robert Kraft. And the funny thing about it was I had seen this guy in the media do the exact same thing. Like he'd done it. And he was bragging about it. So talk about the height of hypocrisy. So I'm not in the business of canceling, I hate to say cancel because I don't want to get into politics because people get all offended about cancel culture and wokeness and all this stuff. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we have a lot of tendency in this society to live in glass houses and then throw stones at people. And if it was a situation that I thought were more serious, well, then I would probably be talking differently. I would be speaking differently. But I think far too often we want our athletes, and I've changed my perspective on this because I used to be, well, they're role models. Remember Chuck Barkley came out and said, we're not role models. It's not my job to raise your kids. But you become rich because our kids look up to you. You become rich and famous and have influence because we do look up to you. And there is a responsibility that goes with that. But you know what I've been looking at more recently was how old is 20s? Right? Like Von Miller, when he was getting in trouble earlier in his career, he's 20-some years old. Now you think about the great stories of athletes that come out of nowhere, or come out of poverty, disadvantaged, didn't get good education, and they leverage their God-given talent. Heck, what is it? Even Jaleel McLaughlin, living in his car to being on the Denver Broncos, it's a great feel-good story. But what if Jaleel McLaughlin had gotten a $15 million contract? What in his life, what in his background would have qualified him to make smart financial decisions? But yet we indict our athletes because they don't know how to handle success and fame. In instances, sometimes they're still teenagers. Look at what happened to Maurice Clarett. He's 19 years old, and he's just somehow supposed to know how to handle himself and how to handle money and fame. He's not mature. Heck, your what is it? They call it your frontal lobe doesn't even develop until you're in your late 20s or something like that. Like they're going to make bad decisions. But we're going to expect them to be able to handle it. It sounds easy, and I understand. Listen, if your responses go, well, I don't know, Dan, but I'd like to try. Give me $30 million and let me see. I'm sure I could make a run at it. Well, there's reasons why lottery winners, 80-90% of lottery winners still end up broke, and 80 or 90% of athletes still wind up broke. There's a reason why some of the biggest fortunes ever accumulated in this country, eventually, after a couple generations, they said, we're giving it all away because it's a curse. Like, if you don't know how to deal with it, it's not as easy as one might think. And so we all make mistakes. I've made my fair share for certain, but to put these athletes under a microscope and say, well, every time they make a mistake, we got to put them on the front page and possibly ruin their careers, I'm just not down with that right now. Now, obviously, it's situation specific, but how many other people do you think in Colorado were arrested for the exact same thing on the same day that Jonathan Cooper got arrested? Do you think it was 100? Do you think it was 1,000?
I'll go with the easy 5, right? Because, you
think there were 5 people in the entire state of Colorado arrested for misdemeanor, I think it was criminal mischief or whatever. Yeah, 5? No, I guarantee it was a lot more than that.
Well, these dockets get long, Dan, and so you're privy to information again that most of the public isn't. So if we don't hear on the Dan Jacobs Show that it's not as bad as it sounded, then they won't know. We'll just assume the worst.
Yeah. So I don't think this is a. By the way, I also don't think we give the Walton Penner Group like some special. Oh, they've come in and made sure we only hire character guys. There's no evidence to support that. There's evidence that Sean Payton is building the team, which we're going to talk about in this show, actually. I think now, because one of the segments we're going to talk about is were the Broncos a fluke or a fraud last year? I don't think they were, but under my timetable, it is put up or shut up time for the Denver Broncos. All right, coming up next, we were talking about this Jonathan Cooper situation. You heard me giving Kyle and Shello a little bit of a hard time. There's a quote that the Avs and Nuggets simply have not embraced, and that's why there's no accountability with those guys. We'll get into that coming up next.
With Courtland Sutton and Jalen Waddle being the top guys, who will end up being the Broncos' third most productive receiver this season?
Evan Ingram. I think you might see, he's in the second year here. He'll be more comfortable with Bo, with the offense. And then I think you're going to see Davis Webb highlight the tight end more than maybe Sean Payton did.
I think Pat Bryant is a guy that they really like.
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Jacob's Law, 303 Law 4040. 303 Law 4040. It's funny, we're talking about this Jonathan Cooper situation, and I'm saying things happen in life. I actually did have a friend reach out to me this week about a situation with their kid and a little bit of a criminal situation. Kind of a run-of-the-mill kids will be kids things, but could not believe this was how the justice system would treat a 13-year-old boy in this situation. Things happen in life, and you need a trusted somebody that knows how to deal with things. I was the guy he knew, so he called me, and I put him in touch with Jeff Wolf over at Wolf Law, Colorado, because I don't do criminal law anymore. But that's the point. Like, we don't know until you put in the situation, you don't know about it, and that's what generally happens with car accidents. Most people have not been in a serious car accident. They just don't know what to do. That's why we're here. We'll meet with you personally. Both me and my lovely wife, Kimberly, will meet with you personally. We'll come up with a plan to get you feeling better, deal with the insurance companies, and to get you compensated for what the other driver put you through. It's just that simple. Go ahead, save that number on your phone. I hope you never need it, but accidents do happen. Life happens. 303 Law 4040. That's 303 Law 4040.
Progressive's Accident Response can detect and send help when you need it most, after a major car accident. But other accidents, you're on your own. Like when you accidentally call your wife Mom. When you accidentally say Happy Holidays on someone's birthday. When you accidentally wave at someone you thought was waving at you. We can't help with those accidents, but Progressive's Accident Response provides peace of mind after major car accidents. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Limited availability in California. Driver is responsible for emergency and towing charges not covered by the policy.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-895-1414. That's 800-895-1414.
Stoke here for ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Are you in the market for a new air conditioner? Well, hold on. You need to think about a heat pump. It cools and heats your home. My team at ROX are Colorado's heat pump experts and rebate specialists. Get up to $12,000 in energy rebates and credits. These savings are incredible, but they're only available for a limited time. Only at ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Now play that jingle.
HVAC service, installation, repair. ROX Rocks Heating and Air.
Who helps keep Colorado's wildlife wild? Our people do.
Hello, my name is Patricia. I've been with Chevron for over 17 years.
Her team uses GPS to track where mule deer and pronghorn roam throughout the seasons. This data helps us take their habitats into consideration when planning our operations.
When we created our comprehensive wildlife and conservation program, it was really about what was possible.
Learn more at colorado.chevron.com.
Running a small business means juggling a lot. Your network has to handle it all. That's where a fiber-only provider falls short. You deserve a partner who gives you a greater advantage. Introducing the Total Solutions Advantage only from Comcast Business. A first-ever combination of the largest, fastest fiber-powered network, the most reliable Wi-Fi, gig speeds with equipment and security included, and a 5-year price lock. Plus, it's all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. The Total Solutions Advantage only from Comcast Business. A new standard for small business with reliability, security, and savings in one. When you add it all up, no one does business like Comcast Business.
Switch today. Get started for $60 a month for 12 months when you add an advanced solution to a qualifying internet package. Limited time offer. New customers only. Requires 300 megabits per second internet, security edge, and additional qualifying service. 1-year agreement, paperless billing, and autopay with bank account required. Taxes and fees extra. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA Fixed Broadband Experience Report, May 2025.
You're listening to the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
All right, second segment on the Dan Jacobs Show. By the way, check in with us on our YouTube channel. Just type in Denver Sports 104.3 on the YouTube, and you can see my handsome face. How's the hair looking today? I haven't even logged in yet. So, and you can also contribute on the Champ Honda YouTube chat. I like the YouTube chat because you guys get to mix it up with each other. It's more of like a conversation about the show and this and that, as opposed to the RamosLaw.com text line where you could send one thing in and I can either respond to it or not respond to it, whereas you guys can respond to each other. So I think it's pretty cool. Out to the RamosLaw.com text line. Easy Like Sunday Morning is the perfect way to start a show. It was a mistake to abandon Chicago's Saturday in the Park. I hope you don't abandon Easy Like Sunday Mornings too, Brian from Evans. People like it, man. People, in fact, sometimes when I'm on vacation, they'll run ESPN Radio in my stead, and they now are running that on their Sunday morning show. It's like catching fire. And I'll ask people, do you listen to the show? And they go, oh, yeah, Easy Like Sunday Mornings. I don't know why. It just caught on, man. It's cool. So, no, it's not going anywhere. This texter says, so Harvey's the wolf. Harvey's the wolf. He is the wolf. And I'm a lawyer, and I don't even know how he does it half the time, but he's amazing. He's also the man that told me not to go to law school. Like, they brought him on. He used to come on with Irvin Joe all the time, and they're like, Harvey, Dan's thinking of going to law school. He's like, tell him don't do that. So here's how good Harvey is. I mean, not only does he get Von Miller off, he got Brandon Marshall off. He goes up against the NFL and wins. But so I had a buddy, and this is probably 25, 30 years ago. And I had one of our good friends that ran in our crew in high school. And he didn't really do much after college. Very talented guy, very smart. And somebody came to him with an opportunity to drive a truck from Minnesota to Denver for $10,000. Now, that was because in the truck, there was a false bottom in the pickup truck. It was filled with, I think it was just marijuana at the time, but, marijuana was a lot bigger deal back then. So he's driving this truck with insane amounts of marijuana, and I think, if I remember right, he was getting like $10,000 every time he did it. And they liked him because he was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy, and as long as you go the speed limit, you're probably not going to get stopped in Nebraska looking like that. But his, quote, employer, the man presenting him with this opportunity, was Hispanic. And he says, you're doing a good job. I want to make this one trip with you. Well, guess what happens when you're Hispanic and you drive through Nebraska in a nice truck? You're more likely to get pulled over. So they get pulled over, and of course my buddy's freaking out. He's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? They find it. They find the drugs. State troopers find the drugs, and he just says, shut your mouth. His boss says, shut your mouth. I'll get you the best attorney, and we'll make this go away. And so my buddy, for about 2 or 3 years, his life's kind of on hold because he's like, I'm probably going away. When you get caught with hundreds of pounds of drugs, you're probably doing some time. And just after like 2 or 3 years, we just get a text that's like, case dismissed. Well, the lawyer he got was Harvey. It was probably a search and seizure thing. I don't know, something like that, like a technicality, but he got everything dismissed. So, yes, Harvey is like the wolf. People in glass houses should not throw stones. Well, that's basically what I was getting at. He who is without sin can cast the first stone. I'm not perfect. I know you're not perfect. You know what is interesting, and I don't want to go too deep into this because I don't want to start a firestorm, but there is something happening right now on social media. No, I can't do it. I don't want to get in trouble. But it is a fascinating thing. In fact, I had this really clever tweet last night. I was going to tie this into the hockey game, and I was like, no, better not send it because if I send it, it'll be taken the wrong way, and I'll get in trouble. I'll get canceled, and I don't want to get canceled. I like not being canceled. So, let's see what else here. Is your favorite weekend host abandoning you and leaving you to fend for yourself? Call 303-LAW-4040. Nope, they're going on vacation too. You're on your own, buddy. You're on your own. Hey, no, because while we're gone, our Darth Vader lawyer, Chris, will be answering the 303-LAW-4040 hotline. So we have your back. Don't worry about that. There was another one. I can relate, Judge. 7 years ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I had never been in trouble until then, haven't been in trouble since, but when I was in trouble with the law, so many people wanted to take me to the cleaners and crucify me. Everyone makes mistakes. You have to live and learn. Take responsibility and take the steps to ensure it never happens again. Nobody is perfect. Amen, brother, sister, whatever it is, whichever. I agree. People make mistakes, and that's why one of the things that as a lawyer, you have to have uncomfortable conversations with people. And I try and do it just from a non-judgmental type way because I don't want them to close up on me. Like if I chastise people for their behavior, oftentimes when I was doing criminal law, what they do is they would hide things. And then I would get exposed at trial, not often, but things would jump up at trial. And I'm like, you didn't think that was important to tell me that? So I let people know, hey, things happen. We're not going to judge you by your worst moment, but we got to be better moving forward for certain. That type thing. All right, so that's that. So the Jonathan Cooper thing, just to bring it full circle, and we're going to move on into some other topics here. Yeah, this being the lone thing with the Broncos so far, I'm not going to put too much into it. Now it is an interesting conversation, though, the larger conversation, Sean, because I think in general, in sports, teams don't care. Like people want to believe that the Walter Penner Group has drawn some line in the sand that says, well, we only want good character guys here. I think right now they do have good character guys, but I think talent generally, and we've seen this throughout sports history, teams will take talent even if they know it comes with a bunch of baggage because they think, well, who cares? It'll help me win on the court. So is it fair when you're talking about with the Broncos, when I'm listening to The Drive with Zach and Phil, and the biggest thing that Zach's talking about with Von Miller is he rolls around with guys like Sean Boyd. We can't have that, right? The partying, the parties, and everything that comes along with Von, it'll ruin the locker room. Sean, you played professional football. Which one is it?
A mature Vaughn has to show back up in Denver, Colorado in order to be impactful and to make the younger guys much better. If he comes in with the mentality that he's just one of the guys and he doesn't take that DeMarcus Ware leadership role this time around, he'll be doing himself and the whole organization a disservice.
But in general, a talented but troubled mega superstar athlete. You'll take him 9 times out of 10, and just let the chips fall where they may, like a Randy Moss or Antonio Brown?
No. Those guys showed patterns of negativity that essentially killed locker rooms. Same thing that goes for I'm missing his name. It's eluding me right now. Another wide receiver that's just troubled. That has Rashee Rice. You can't allow him to back in the locker room with these types of actions. Something has to happen. A swift gavel has to be dropped, and maybe Cooper may need to. I don't know. Do you fine him?
You seem like you're pretty troubled by this.
Yeah, because the thing is that when you put yourself in these situations, regardless of how it took place, you go to a rookie symposium and they give you hours of coaching on how to handle yourself in these situations. So when you go against the grain and you get yourself into situations that you necessarily can't get out of because you're in the public eye, I mean, you're almost subject to all ridicule. So I don't necessarily
I just got to tell you, knowing what I know, having raised young adult daughters right now, what's going on in our society, telling them that you gave them a seminar means little to me because I don't think that generation pays attention.
Yeah, it's clearly going in one ear and out the other one at the rookie symposium.
All right. Well, we'll probably move on from this topic. However, I do want to get back to this idea that we are nice in Denver. We're just nice and soft, and that's why our teams are really soft and cuddly and aren't going to win any more championships because we're just so darn nice. And they tried hard and they did their best. They just had bad matchups. We'll talk about that next.
It's the ultimate showdown for a great cause.
Setting up the ultimate gold medal showdown.
On June 11th, Brandon Stokely goes head-to-head with Zach By in 100 Holes for Kids. 100 holes of golf. It's a one-day event all to raise money for Recruiting Classroom, whose mission it is to help kids play sports. Who will raise the most? That's where you come in. Pick your player, make your donation, and help kids win. To support Brandon Stokely, head to StokelyCares.com. To support Zach By, head to ZachCares.com.
DeerTrailMeatCo.com, DeerTrailMeatCo.com. Boy, I have egg on my face. Yesterday, I was bragging about this barbecue. I was going to have this great barbecue. People were requesting my ribs from the party a couple weeks ago. Can you make those again? I burn them. Burn up the ribs. Did them wrong. Left them in the foil too long. Totally screwed it up. But you know what? We still had a great time. And I didn't have to kick myself because at least the ribs didn't cost me an arm and a leg because I ordered them from DeerTrailMeatCo.com. That's DeerTrailMeatCo.com. What they do is delicious pork and beef. They deliver it to your front door with a money-back guarantee and at a tremendous savings over what you pay at the big box stores. Up to 75% off. It depends on your bundle. If you get an eighth of a cow, it's a few $100. And you just fill up your freezer, you test things out, and then you can move up the chain if you want. But so the pricing obviously varies based on your bundle. But no matter which bundle you get, it's a tremendous savings over what's going on in the grocery store. I want you to check them out. Website has all the good stuff. Check them out. DeerTrailMeatCo.com.
While medicine's greatest advancements look like the latest sci-fi, one of our most powerful tools is far more simple, more human. It's a calling to connect with purpose by treating people, not just patients. With innovations that amplify healing and lead to more personalized care, guided by the belief we all hold the power to heal. At Common Spirit Health, clinical excellence lives here. Human kindness lives here. Learn more at mountain.commonspirit.org.
Stoke here for ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Are you in the market for a new air conditioner? Well, hold on. You need to think about a heat pump. It cools and heats your home. My team at ROX are Colorado's heat pump experts and rebate specialists. Get up to $12,000 in energy rebates and credits. These savings are incredible, but they're only available for a limited time. Only at ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Now play that jingle.
HVAC service, installation, repair. ROX Rocks Heating and Air.
When you own your own business, you need to keep things moving. Need to book a last-minute flight? Earn a $300 travel credit to cover that. Need to take a meeting before takeoff? Do it from the comfort of the Chase Sapphire Lounge by the club. Need to catch your breath before you board? Done. Chase Sapphire Reserve for Business, the business card that gives back all you put in. Visit chase.com/reservebusiness to learn more. Cards issued by JPMorgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC, subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
What if you had the most reliable, fiber-powered Wi-Fi and the price didn't change for 5 years? Thanks to Xfinity's summer savings event, you don't have to worry about that part of your future. Now through June 15th, get gig Wi-Fi for just $50 a month for 5 years with equipment and unlimited data included. No strings, no commitments, and get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. You're guaranteed 5 years of Wi-Fi that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi that keeps you protected online from threats. Plus, you can even try Xfinity Mobile free for a year. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities during the Xfinity Summer Savings event. Get it now at Xfinity.com. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions applies, requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account, taxes and fees extra. After 12 months, regular rates apply to mobile select. Xfinity Internet required, speeds vary, use of fiber, coaxial cable.
Walmart is proud to sponsor the Be a Mentor, Be a Fan football camp in partnership with 104.3 The Fan. Walmart is helping to invest in the next generation by bringing together Broncos alumni on-air hosts and South High School football coaches for a one-of-a-kind camp experience, benefiting Big Brothers Big Sisters of Colorado, because every young person deserves encouragement, guidance, and the chance to reach their full potential. Walmart proudly supports Big Brothers Big Sisters of Colorado and their mission to build life-changing mentoring relationships for kids across our community.
It's the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
All right. Final segment of this hour. Still 2 more hours to go after that. We'll keep it rocking. RamosLaw.com text line. Stink and Stoke were invited to an alumni event with the Broncos after the draft. They showed them a list of top players that were taken off their draft board for non-football reasons. That's from Mike. Well, I didn't know that. I remember them talking about going to this alumni event a couple weeks back and how they were kind of party poopers when they first got there, but then they, got into the groove and then they had a good time. It was interesting hearing Stoke. Great stuff by Stokely this week, living the high life with the fellas at the memorial. I'm sitting there, I'm looking on Twitter, and there's a picture of Stokely. I'm like, is that Rob Lowe? He's hanging out with Rob Lowe. It just like Peyton Manning, of course, and just having the time of his life. And then to hear the stories, he came back, and then I guess he just did not play well. He's on a mission to go play a better round next year at the Memorial in the Pro-Am or whatever. I guess he said he felt he let the team down. So that was good stuff. I loved hearing that stuff this week. But imagine this guy. How about this life, Sean? Your life is so great. You're like, I don't know if I want to play in this Memorial Pro-Am anymore. I don't know if I want to hang out with Rob Lowe and Peyton Manning and all these guys. I don't know, man. I'll decide later.
I mean, that
must be nice.
That sounds like a frivolous way to live.
Yeah, must be nice. Must be nice. So appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know what the non-football reasons are. Maybe it is. I'm trying to think. Did Sean Payton have a history in New Orleans of having any troublesome players? Nothing jumps out. Joe Horn, maybe, right? Is he the one that had the Sharpie?
No, Horn had the cell phone underneath the goal.
Yeah, the cell phone. Yeah, I mean, yes, he had stuff like that, but I don't know. Of course, it was Bountygate. I did say that somebody was, who was it? Oh, it was Nick Benito sent out a tweet talking about how despicable it was, something to do with players, basically something very similar to bounties. And I'm like, don't tell him about what his head coach did. Got banished from the league for a year for this stuff. Nick Benito, are you not aware of that? He might not be. Nick's a young guy. That was a while ago. Yeah, the whole bounty gate type thing. So, on the text slide, a bad round of golf will make you question everything in life, LOL. Well, it makes me question why I play golf every single time, that's for sure. But the flip side of that is one good shot then tricks you. Or the worst thing that can happen, it was like Kmart. Remember when Kmart used to make a jumper at the beginning of the game? It was the worst thing that could possibly happen. That if he said it wasn't really a jumper, it was like a set shot because he never actually jumped. But if that went in, you knew you were in trouble because 3 or 4 more shots were coming after that one, and none of them were going in. But he would have that confidence, right? And it's the same thing with me in my golf game, and I think a lot of you guys probably feel the same way. The worst thing that can happen to me is if I have a nice little run of like 2 or 3 holes where I play well. Because then I've deluded myself into believing that maybe, just maybe, if I just practiced enough or if I've just played enough, says sample size says otherwise. I used to always say, well, I'm kind of new to the game. I probably said that for 15 or 20 years. And what I really meant was I just haven't played that much golf. Well, after a while, I played quite a bit of golf. I'm not very good at it. It's time to take accountability for it. That's all. But yeah, the notion that, so for good golfers, a bad round will make them question everything. For bad golfers, a good round will make you delusional. Am I right? Sean, do you play golf?
I've been thinking about going to the golf course. I got 2 sets of clubs, and I'm not an avid golfer. I'm in another sport, as you know, bowling, which is kind of similar to golfing.
Yeah, stick to bowling.
You got to be accurate, right? So golfing is accuracy, and the same thing applies to bowling. Like if you're not accurate, it's not about switching the ball. It's not about moving to the left and standing in a different position. Like you have to make adjustments with every time that you go up on the wood.
Yeah, the problem for me with golf is, so you see these guys on TV, or even you play with Stokely. These guys, they have pure swings. And I'm just like, dude, you guys hit the ball pure every time. And every time even when they're in the rough or in the sand trap, whatever, even if they don't hit a great shot, they strike the ball well. Guys like me, we're like, I just want to be able to get the ball in the air and for it to go semi-straight. And every once in a while, I'll hit a very pure, nice, well-struck shot, but I can't do that every time. I can't do that 2 out of every 4 times.
Have you noticed that you get a good shot when you're not trying? Right?
Sometimes.
You've been pushing, trying to get a good shot, and then all of a sudden you're just like, you know what, I'm done. I'm done trying. It's the 10th or 11th hole, and I'm well over par, right?
Yeah.
So you just start, you just try different things, and all of a sudden you get a good stroke.
Yeah. Not only did Sean Payton get banned, they made a movie and cast him with a fat guy, Paul.
Earlier this week, Cecil was talking about the Bounty Gate, and he kind of downplayed it a little bit, just saying that it was something that's been around the NFL since the beginning of time. It was just the fact that Sean Payton was the one that got charged for it. What's your thoughts on that, Dan?
I think that's probably not accurate to the level that they had it systematically implemented essentially from the coaching staff in New Orleans. Take example, the SMU thing, right? The scandal with SMU, they were the one that got the death penalty. They were the ones that got the death penalty in recruiting. In a situation like that, I'm like, yeah, everybody's doing that, right? I don't know that everybody had a organized bounty scheme where you got rewarded for hurting or taking out other players, and then it was administered and paid by the team. Maybe guys in the locker room, maybe they have a pool. Hey, this week if whoever gets the best shot on Favre, they put some money in the kitty. Maybe so I'm sure some form of stuff like that happened. I don't know that it was widespread, that a bounty system was going on rampant throughout the league, but maybe.
See, I feel like it was kind of premeditated. There's some premeditation there with Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree, right? I feel like the no-fly zone kind of amped up Aqib Talib to snatch his chain live on television because he'd been playing football for a few weeks with the chains hanging out of his shoulder pads. I felt like Aqib Talib and the rest of his guys were like, you know what? Tonight's the night. We're gonna make an example out of Crabtree.
But he did that a couple times to Crabtree, didn't he?
Now, the one was most notable was here in Denver when the Broncos and Raiders were playing.
But I think he did it again twice. I think he did it twice. Like, why? First off, I don't know. See, that's the stuff I have problems with. Just blatant a-holery. Right? Just blatant misconduct. Jerry Jeudy throwing fits, and to the point his teammates have to shove him because they're tired of his mouth. Like, just prima donna nonsense. I have a problem with that. But, a complete lack of accountability all the time. I have a problem with that. But that's separate than what we were talking about. Like, for example, the situation with Jonathan Cooper, that unfortunately he is now in the spotlight because he's an athlete, but it happened to how many other dozens or hundreds or thousands of people across this country that same day, and it wasn't a problem for them. It's like the, Sean, remember the Kiss Cam lady?
I do. Now you're talking about the lady that was with Seth Green that got caught on the Kiss Cam? Or are we talking about
Not Seth Green. No, the guy, the business couple, the head of HR and the CEO. They're at a Coldplay concert.
Oh yeah, I definitely.
And they're canoodling and they get busted. She came out a couple months ago with some tour. She goes on Oprah and all this stuff, claiming to be the victim. But there was a little bit of fairness to it. I'll get your thoughts on the other side, and then we're going to go into this other thing with the expectations, a fresh hour of the Dan Jacobs Show. But I do have to ask you this, Sean, because I think you'll have a perspective on this as well. It's the Dan Jacobs Show, hour number 2 coming up.
With their recent run of good play and the Nuggets and Avalanche being done, are the Rockies playing for something more than just wins and losses right now?
You've got, how many weeks before training camp? End of July? You've got almost 2 months now as a Rockies team to recapture the fascination of a sleeping giant when it comes to baseball.
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Imagine finding your dream home and moving in right away. No waiting to sell your old place first. Sounds perfect, right? That's exactly what Orchard's Move First, Sell Later program lets you do. Buy your new home now and sell the old one later. Here's how it works. Orchard gives you cash so you can buy and move into your new home first on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then the Orchard experts take it from there. They handle repairs on your old home for you so you attract the right buyers. Once they're done, a local Orchard agent lists and sells your home for top dollar. Orchard's Move First program gives you the freedom to buy and move into your new home first and sell your old home later. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Ready to find out how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a super fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and data for just $34.99 a month. But wait, there's more. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be switching to an American wireless company that's committed to keeping 100% of its customer service in this country. I appreciate that. In fact, that's why I switched. I also appreciate the way they support our vets and our skilled workforce. Dial pound 250, say micro, and get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. That's pound 250 micro. Stop paying twice what you need to pay for the service you want and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Drivers who switch their home and auto with Progressive could save money and time. Other things try to do this, but they really don't. Like the touchscreen at fast food places. It's not like you save time because it takes you longer to use a touchscreen than, I don't know, someone who works there. And another thing, you'd think it would save money because they're not paying a cashier, right? But no, same price. Also, why is there an option to tip? Who am I tipping? Exactly. Anyway, even if you can't save money and time with some things, you could with a Progressive home and auto bundle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver.
You're listening to Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan presents the Honorable Judge Dan Jake.
There was a point in the tour, he had a trophy room at Graceland. It was like a separate building. It was kind of like a building and had all of his awards and all the memorabilia from his career or whatever. But Elvis was, at one point, I would say, fair to say, the most important person, not most important, most famous person in the world. He was as big as it got. He was the king of rock and roll, and he was huge. And he went away to war. He was drafted, and he went and did his service, and he came back, and he was scared to death. He thought, will people still love me? Will people still care? Am I still good enough? He had this fear. He had this insecurity. And for some reason, that really struck me, because I think so many times in life, people they want to do something, but they don't think they could do it. And that somebody else might, or somebody else may be more talented or better looking or have more money or whatever, but I can't do it. And what I did was I started learning, and fear, it's actually a driving force in a lot of very successful people, but there's very few, if any, people that just popped out of the womb. Oh, well, they're just better than I am. They're still fighting the same battle. And so that was a really kind of impactful moment for me. And then I kind of came across the Sylvester Stallone story that I've relayed on the show many times, that these are instances of people like Sylvester Stallone, just real quick. He walked into a movie theater, just a regular guy up the street, and walked out a movie star instantly. He said, I never again had a private moment. It's not about, oh, well, 30s and still had imposter syndrome and all that stuff, even at the height of his fame. So that was just kind of a thing that with Elvis that, really moved me. And that was a really impactful moment in my life, actually doing that tour at Graceland. Now, I was thinking about him earlier, though, when we were talking with Kyle and Cello about all-time great songwriters and songs and stuff like that. And the funny thing is with Elvis, if you look back, he changed rock and roll and he changed social norms and things like that, but also at the same time, his music was not that great. It's catchy. You may hum it, you may sing it or whatever, but it's not rattling your soul type music. It's kind of bubblegummy.
It's old school. An acquired eclectic taste in 2026. That's for sure. I don't even know if Elvis's music translates to today's ear.
No, it's just, if you hear it, you like it, it's nostalgic or whatever. Now, here's what I was going to ask you real quick, Sean, from an ethical thing. So I was telling you about the lady, remember the Coldplay Kiss Cam?
Yes, sir. One of the worst things invented for being at a game, just trying to do your thing.
I don't want to be on the dang kiss cam to begin with. Even if I'm with my lovely wife, I don't want to be on it. But what if I'm there with my sister or what? I don't like the kiss cam. But so in this case, they're at a Coldplay concert. Kristen Cabot, I believe her name was, and I think maybe the other guys. She was the head of HR for a company, a major, big time company, and Andrew Byron, I think his name was the CEO. And they go to the kiss cam, and there they are in a romantic embrace, and they get caught, and he just dives to the ground and slinks away, and then she's like, he leaves her there to sit there on camera. Hugely embarrassing. They both end up losing their jobs, resigning, whatever. Marriages were problematic. I think the one guy's actually still with his wife, maybe. It went viral. That's the society we're in. So you would think if you were her, probably the best thing is just move on with your life, right? Well, she decides to go on a PR tour where she tells her story to Oprah. And I try and be as empathetic as possible. Kind of like I was in the first segment with Jonathan Cooper. Like life happens. Hit a woman or anything like that. But I've done a lot of things I'm not proud of. We fight. We argue. I scream at the top of my lungs. I've thrown things. I've thrown a lot of things.
See, I feel like the older I've gotten, sir, I just developed such a patience for everybody in my life that I love.
Yeah.
That I don't allow myself to get outside my body structure too much. And then if I do, look out.
And I'm trying. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what it is. Like if it happens, it ain't pretty. I try not to let it happen. It's like, the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk. Gets around, she says, well, my life was completely destroyed because people stuck their nose into a private moment. And I'm not a public figure. I'm not Jonathan Cooper. I don't play for the Broncos or whatever. I'm paraphrasing her argument, obviously. But she's like, he lied to me, first off. He told me I was already getting a divorce. In fact, my husband was there with a different date at the same concert. And the CEO guy told me he was in the same situation he was leaving his wife. And we just bonded over that. And then we just things kind of happened the way they did. And so now, my whole life, all these horrible things happened to me because of this when it was nobody's business. I'm like, well, you probably have a little bit of a point there, but also, what about your accountability for being a homewrecker? Is that not?
There is none. We got two different sets of standards in today's day and age, and obviously everybody knows it. So you have to there's no kind of. You got to play between the lines, color in between the lines, and every other cliche out there for walking right, talking polite, and doing things the right way, man. Because if you don't, you're subject to losing money and losing legacy and fame. And that's just coming from somebody in Jonathan Cooper's situation or even Josh Jacobs for that matter. These guys, they have so much riding on their day-to-day life that if they just took a step back and said, you know what, I'm nothing like the normal person. So if I decide to color outside the lines, I have to be ready for everything, the scrutiny that comes along with it.
All right, well, okay, but you also have to remember that they live in a world where it's also excused. It's also covered up for them, right?
And that's a problem. We can't allow that any longer because the longer that we allow it to fester in that way, we get more Tyreek Hills.
Okay.
Like, I don't want Tyreek Hill on my team at all.
I don't either, and I'm a Dolphins fan. But here's another example where the Avs are paying for it to this day. May have cost them a cup this year. Probably cost them a couple cups, right? Val Nichushkin, they chose Val because they thought him over Nazem Kadri. Now, could they have brought Nazem Kadri back and probably had another couple cups? They could have. They chose not to. So they bet on Val, and they gave Val a huge contract. And I believe it was the very next season, Val got himself into a very serious situation, and we don't know all the facts, so I'm not going to cast aspersions, but we know it was a very serious situation, much more serious than anything we're talking about with Jonathan Cooper. And it was in Seattle, right? And it was involved another person, a victim, all this stuff. And had the Avs done the right thing and cooperated and just towed the line and done the right thing, instead of their first instinct was, let's cover this up. Let's protect our guy, cover it up. We'll go talk to the cops. We see the body cam video of the cops and this and that. And they got him out of there, and they protected their player. They protected their investment. And that was that. But he had to miss the rest of the playoffs. And then we come to find out he has some serious issues. Well, because they didn't do the right thing, had they done the right thing, then there's an argument that they could have gotten out of that contract, which would have given them a lot more flexibility over 2 or 3 seasons there. Even now, they wouldn't be saddled with that big contract. But because they didn't do the right thing and they excused the behavior and they were complicit kind of in the, quote, cover-up, so to speak, they had to live with that, and then they were no longer able to, under the players' agreement or the collective bargaining agreement, they had no argument that, well, we can get rid of this player. In fact, they enabled him to go into the substance abuse program or whatever you call it with the NHL. And then he kind of got immunity, so to speak, or he got some very favorable rules. And it was all because they just didn't do the right thing. So yeah, with like this lady, yeah, I understand. It sucks. Like you didn't expect to go viral when you were, but the flip side of that argument is, well, if you can't cheat in public anymore, what can you do? Like you were cheating on your family, and that's a serious thing.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. And so what you're talking about with these professional athletes that, well, they just need to know they're risking their entire careers. They got to be smarter than that. Well, they have the Avalanche are helping cover things up. Like teams do that all the time. In fact, that was one of the tragic things about the Chad Kelly situation was Chad Kelly had obviously some severe issues. He goes to Vaughn's Halloween party. He's obviously not right. And instead of putting him using one of the tools the NFL has, his teammates should have called the number and he should have gotten taken home. They just threw him out into the street and it basically ruined his career.
Yeah, I'm certain he wishes he could take back that night. A lot of times you wonder if you could do things over again, and I'm pretty sure Chad is probably he's most definitely wishing he could do that night over.
Yeah. So, but he had other issues. Like he didn't stop there. Like he had a couple other shots of redemption, and he actually was doing pretty well in the CFL. I think he had a bad injury, but yeah, Chad Kelly. He's one of those guys where you're like, yeah, man, how many second chances do you need? Right. So it's just interesting. I've on one hand, I like with that Kristen Cabot lady, I'm like, I have a little bit of empathy for you because most of us, it's like you said, Jonathan Cooper, he's in the headlines because he's a celebrity and we're not. So if we have a little trouble somewhere, we don't expect it to go viral. But that's the society we live in now. And when you're the head of HR, you shouldn't be having an extramarital affair with the CEO. That goes without saying. And if you're the head of HR, how do you have any credibility moving forward with the rest of the workforce? Because you're supposed to be the one that's above reproach, because you're the one that has to hand down judgment on everybody else if they exhibit bad behavior in the workplace. So yeah, your standard should have been quite a bit higher, and it sucks that you went viral, but maybe that's why you shouldn't do what you did. I don't know. That was just kind of me. Somebody says Elvis is the greatest cover band of all time. Yeah, kind of. He didn't write any of his hits. He covered older versions of songs. No cover band was ever as successful as Elvis Presley before or after him. That's from Brian in Nebraska. We talked about that a little bit with Kyle and Cello. I don't begrudge a singer for not writing their own songs. It's more impressive if they do write their songs, but that doesn't mean I don't like their song. Like they're the ones performing it. Do you have to do both? Somebody's trying to take shots at Taylor Swift earlier. Do we even know she writes her songs? A lot of these guys have ghostwriters. Well, I don't know. She says she does. So now I want to get to this. I was listening to Kyle and Cello on the way in, and I could not believe it was like et tu, Kyle and Cello, and you, Kyle and Cello. And I gave them a hard time about it. And they weren't taking the bait when we did our crosstalk. But they're talking about Bednar. And they're kind of, oh, well, you got to always wonder who's going to be better. I mean, I was stunned when I heard the news that Jared Bednar's coming back. Just stunned. And what we're hearing in the Denver media now is, outside of, Zach Bye has definitely been a loud voice of reason. I've been a voice of reason on this front. But now that it's kind of being accepted, kind of this pasting over of the fact that they are making a huge mistake and they've ruined both the Avs and Nuggets championship runs. They've just ruined it with the bad decision making, the cheapness. And so we have this lower standard. Well, Bednar's a good coach. He doesn't, they were 8-1 in the playoffs before that. When are the players accountable? We hear all these excuses as to why you would stick with a guy who, by the way, since he won his championship, every other coach in the league except for one, John Cooper with Tampa, who had a dynasty. Every other coach in the league had been replaced. Everyone except for John Cooper and Jared Bednar. Think about that, Sean. And Jared Bednar just got swept out of the Western Conference Finals by a team that they themselves did not expect to not only be there, but they knew there's a new term now. I don't know why all of a sudden it's popular. They're a wagon. They knew the Avs were a wagon. Now all of a sudden in hindsight, everybody's saying, well, that was just a bad matchup for the Avalanche.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, Dan, it kind of seems that it was a bad matchup. I mean, the Golden Knights are up 2-1 on the Hurricanes. They were underdogs to the Hurricanes to start the Stanley Cup Finals, and they're
but that was
defying odds.
The sad thing about watching last night and the game before, that the Wild did the same thing to the Hurricanes. And guess what the Hurricanes did? They got up off the mat. And they said, and they've came back and they've won 2 games now. Crazy. I don't know if you saw it last night. That game last night was insane.
It went with the overtime, didn't it? I think the Knights pulled it out 5-4.
Yeah. They're up 2-1. But they still came back in a 4-goal deficit. So they've responded. So you're right. Vegas did win. But game 2 was also an overtime game, and Carolina came back. And what I'm getting at is, you've seen that you can respond. You can get punched in the mouth by Vegas, and it's not a foregone conclusion. You have to lay down, and you don't have to get swept. And Carolina, it was amazing what they did last night. Now, and by the way, they were dominating overtime. I was really shocked that they didn't win that game. But the Avs, how do you say, well, the reason we got beat was, we were the better team. We were the best team in hockey all season long. But, it was a bad matchup. It's the excuse making is insane. And then here, I wanted to play this. I'm not going to play the whole interview from James yesterday, but I was just shocked. I was just shocked what I heard out of James Marilat. What he's saying about the Denver Nuggets now. I thought there was an imposter on him. Like, is this really James? I questioned mid-interview. This isn't James. This is somebody else pretending to be James. Here's about 5 minutes of it.
I think they just had their worst possible matchup. Minnesota's got their number. They played physical with them, and the Nuggets didn't have an answer for it. If they bring back the exact same group, bring back Payton Watson, I think they're one of the 5 or 6 top contenders next year too. So I think everybody's kind of jumping off that bandwagon a little too quickly. But I am with you. It was the time to have a dynasty if you were ever going to have one, because there's no other super team. It's not like they're dealing with LeBron and the Heat, or Steph and the Warriors, or some of those teams that won multiple titles over the course of 5, 6, 7 years. So it just makes the missed opportunity even that much bigger. The fact that they weren't able to take advantage of it, and quite frankly, not even get close. They got the one championship and never got close. Other than that one, that's maybe the biggest indictment of all.
Well, I'm not going to, because I'll get lit up later if I let you do this. You kind of slipped it in. You're an ever-changing chameleon, James. So what I think I heard, because I don't want to hear this nonsense about, Dan, you're twisting my words. I didn't say that. It was 30 seconds ago, did you or did you not just soft sell the Nuggets and be like, they kind of ran into a bad matchup. No big deal. They're really talented. We're jumping off the bandwagon. It was a bad matchup. Is that your position now, James, a couple weeks later, 3 weeks later?
No, I think it's three parts. Well, there's multiple, but the three biggest ones. It is a bad matchup. It just is. Minnesota's always been a bad matchup for them.
Minnesota without Ant and without two of their other best scorers, that's a bad matchup. Then you tell me, James, what is a good matchup that the Nuggets can actually win then? You explain it to me.
They can beat San Antonio. They kick
out
the
of
butt
town,
all year long.
dude. Get out of town.
It's a bad matchup, right? They had some health issues, not as many as Minnesota, but they did have health issues, especially to their two best defensive players. And a team that doesn't play defense all that well, you take out their two best defensive players, that's a huge loss. And, then all of a sudden they just got cold. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Jokic and Murray were two of the better open three-point shooters all season long. In the postseason, they were two of the five worst. So, you put all those things together where you lose your best defenders, you're going up against a team that plays you physical that you have a hard time with, and you're an offensive-minded team that all of a sudden can't hit shots. That becomes a recipe for disaster. Do I think that exact same recipe is going to happen year after year after year? Well, it depends on who they get.
It does happen. Whoa. Who is this? Is this James's brother, Ned? Like, who am I talking to? It does happen every year. It happens every year with the Nuggets and Avalanche, except for I had a good buddy of mine that used to say, what's the exception and what's the norm? The norm is they get beat in the playoffs every year for both the Avs and Nuggets. The exception was the championship for both the Avs and the Nuggets.
With that.
Are you changing your stance now, James? Oh, it's just a bad matchup. It happens every year. When is it not going to happen?
I'm not changing my stance. What I'm saying is I don't think people should overreact. And by people, I'm talking Josh Kroenke and the Nuggets, that they should overreact and all of a sudden they go trading guys for pennies on the dollar, start doing salary dumps so they can avoid tax, luxury tax and aprons and all the rest of that stuff, and the team is worse. So they're not, if they can get true value for Cam, great, trade him. If you can get true value for AG, great, trade him, but I don't think they're going to be able to. So to make changes just for change's sake, I think would be foolish. I think the change they should have made was the head coach, and that's the same change the Avs should have made as well. But, they're making the Rockies look like they're innovative in terms of changes that they make, because that is, Mike Evans used to call it, Stan, Pat, and Blake in terms of where Coors Field is. That's what the Chopper Circle is at this point. It's Stan, Pat, Circle.
All right. Well, you're saying Stan, Pat, though. Wait a minute. That's what you're saying. You're saying, don't knee-jerk and cut salary. Just go back all in. They should have got rid of the coach, but outside of that, just keep it going. Pay $200 million in luxury tax to bring back a team that had a bad matchup against the JV T-Wolves team, but they'll do better next year. That's what I'm hearing, James.
Well, how did the salary dump last year work out?
What salary dump?
Not very well. Yes, it was a salary dump, and now they got an expiring contract in Cam Johnson, so it was a total salary dump before they had to pay $200 million more to MPJ over the course of that contract. So what I'm saying is, if you can't get a trade that is fair value, that's going to improve the team, I don't want them to make trades just to make trades. The change they should have made was the head coach should have brought back this group, with a different head coach and see what they can do. But they decided not to do that, so that's fine, I guess. But like I say, dumping players just to make changes, I think would be a mistake.
Well, they're not dumping.
And I'm never a fan of salary dumps. Why in the world do we care if Stan Kroenke has to pay a luxury tax? He's a billionaire, the largest landowner in America, and we're worried about him having to pay a luxury tax? Give me a break.
Well, but if it winds up being, you're going to pay $200 million extra to bring back a team that couldn't get out of the first round against a decimated T-Wolves team? Well, how does that make any sense?
Well, what is your proposition?
They're obviously going to have to take
under the tax and be worse. So
yes.
Hey, let's save Stan some money and maybe we can get to 41 wins. That'll be a hell of a lot of fun. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, they're going to have to get under the tax so they can reload. They have to cut some dead weight.
With what? They don't have a pick until 2030. How are they going to reload?
Cam Johnson is dead weight. Aaron Gordon, we love him. He can't stay healthy anymore. He's saddling you with a $32 million cap charge. To be honest with you, Jamal Murray, Dead weight. You're not going to win with him. Get rid of $80 or $100 million worth of contracts that are not going to help you win an NBA championship and see if we can get a second run out of Nikola Jokic's the waning part of his prime. That makes sense to me. Pretending that this team is going to be a champion next year if you run it back and pay $200 million in ridiculous luxury taxes, that's like an ostrich burying your head in the sand, James.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, if you don't get fair value back, your team is going to be worse. It'll be cheaper, but it'll be worse. So, I mean, I don't know why that as a fan sounds good at all. That certainly isn't going to be a team that's going to get you out of the first or second round. A team with less talent, and you still got David Adelman coaching them. So you're going to give David Adelman a lesser team, and then it's going to get you a different result.
He actually did better. Actually, James, he did have a lesser team the year before and got a much better result. And that's where we kind of left it there, and I had to move on. But, yeah, actually, David Adelman had a much better run in the playoffs with lesser players in his first, his run as interim coach. I don't get this whole, with both the Avs and Nuggets, that we can just keep doing the same thing and the same players with the same fatal flaws in the playoffs, and we'll be just fine. We'll be just fine. We'll continue this conversation, but also America's hottest new talk radio segment, Judge Dan Lays Down the Law, coming up next.
You asked for it, you got it. Backed by popular demand, it's the Drives Brouhaha.
Big social brouhaha.
This summer, Zach and Phil are back on the road bringing their party to you. Next up, North Glen. June 12th from 2 to 6 at the Glen Bar and Grill.
There was quite a brouhaha.
Come find out what the commotion's all about. Head to DenverSports.com/drive for more details.
Guaranteed to bring the brouhaha.
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Jacob's Law, 303-LAW-4040, 303-LAW-4040. I like talking about this case. Maybe you heard it during the week on the station, but I'm proud of it because there was a young guy, tough guy, proud guy, lives in a small town, and he was very seriously injured. Like we saw like the body cam footage and stuff. This is a tough SOB. But he said, Dan, I have to live in this town, and if I'm going to have to sue my neighbor or whatever, I wouldn't be able to hold my head up. I'm not going to do that. And I said, just listen, we're here to help you, and we're not here to hurt your neighbor, and probably not going to have to sue anybody, but just let us go to work for you. We'll help you get feeling better, and then we'll talk about the money, and we'll see how that'll work out. And he says, okay, Dan, I'll trust you guys at 303-LAW-4040. We were able to settle his case without suing his neighbor for $1.5 million. That's a pretty darn good result. Now, I can't promise I'll get $1.5 million in every case. Of course, I don't do that, but we will fight hard and work for a fair and just outcome on every case. You get our cell phone numbers. We don't hire some chat bot, some AI, or some call center overseas. You actually speak to me or my lovely wife, Kimberly, when you call 303-LAW-4040. Go ahead, save that number in your phone, 303-LAW-4040.
The playoffs are full of surprises, underdogs, overtime thrillers, sudden upsets. But when it comes to your facility's electrical systems, you don't want surprises. For over 40 years, Piper Electric has powered complex commercial and industrial projects, from large-scale distribution to fire alarms and preventative maintenance. Their licensed electricians help reduce downtime, control cost, and keep operations running smoothly. Got a project coming up? Don't leave it to chance. Include Piper Electric in your bid process. Visit piperelectric.com.
From the FIFA World Cup to competitive business environments, grand ambitions lead to game-changing achievements. At Bank of America, we're there to support businesses at every step, providing insights and expertise to help you gain an edge.
He shoots, he scores!
What would you like the power to do? Explore winning business solutions at BofA.com/gamechangers. Bank of America, official bank of the FIFA World Cup 2026.
Hey, Stoke here for ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Summer is coming in hot. Don't wait. Beat the rush with an early bird cooling system tune-up and inspection for only $49 from ROX Rocks Heating and Air. They'll inspect your system and keep you cool when everyone else is scrambling. Call Rocks Heating and Air today and schedule your tune-up before the end of June. Now play that jingle.
HVAC service, installation, repair, ROX, Rocks, Heating and Air.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Colorado, it's time to take our recycling to the next level. That's why Recyclon Colorado is bringing you more curbside and drop-off service from peaks to prairies. Guidelines as clear as our skies, so you know what goes where. And the price? As free as gawking at Bighorns on I-70. You deserve a recycling system you can count on, like your puffiest winter coat. And we're here to give it to you. Learn more at recyclon.org/Colorado.
You're listening to the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
All rise. All rise.
All right. Here it is. We did it last week. We're doing it again this week. We're making another run at it. Laying down the law with Judge Jacobs and Sean Boyd. Sean, what do we got?
All right, Dan. On the docket for today, the first case is the fan base versus Jared Bednar. The charge here is a failure to adapt to under extreme pressures. Now, Dan, the dust has finally settled on the Avs getting swept in the Western Conference Finals. And the panic of the Ramos Law text line is real. And the guys like James Merlat are out here openly questioning if Bednar has run his course in Denver. And the prosecution points to the lack of adjustments when Kel McCarr went down as gross negligence. Now, the defense is entering Exhibit A into evidence, a Stanley Cup ring, and a 121-point President's Trophy. As the presiding judge over Denver Sports, Dan, what is your verdict?
My verdict is Bednar should have gone. Yes, regular season success is nice, but what are your expectations? The expectation was not, well, just get to the Western Conference Finals and that's okay. We can get swept. No big deal. No, that is a big deal because your expectations, you were the best team in hockey and you got swept out of the playoffs by a team that they themselves didn't think they were better than you. We had one of their beat writers on the day of Game 3, and he was like, the Avs are definitely the better team, and they definitely can come back and win. Like, none of us expected this, but they just got beat. They don't have the heart of a champion. They don't have a championship heart, and their coach is not able to summon whatever they need to find, whatever they need to summon deep down within them to make them have that killer instinct when other teams in the league have it, and they don't. So, yes, they had one championship with two all-time great players and just a stacked roster. And winning a championship one time when you're the best team in the league, probably 7 or 8 times, that's not a lot. That's a disappointment. So he's a nice guy. Everybody likes him. He's got to go.
All right, Judge, our second case on today's docket, we have a class action suit from Broncos country. The charge, Grand Theft Stadium Capital. Now, we've been tracking this absolute uproar over the new PSL updates and the logistics of potential new stadium downtown. The defense says, hey, the Walter Pennon Group is spending billions to modernize the franchise. The prosecution, the everyday fan, says they are being priced out of their lifelong seats and that consumers are about to call the team's bluff. Lay down the law, Dan. Are the Walter Pennon Group guilty of squeezing the most loyal fan base in the NFL, or is this just a modern price of doing business in sports?
Yeah, it's going to be. They are going to be guilty of it, and I think the bloom is going to come off the rose of the Walton Pennon Group in short order when they make that announcement, and they're going to say, well, every other stadium built in the last 10 years has these. We're not doing anything out of the norm. Now, to be fair, yeah, are they going to spend billions of dollars? Yes, they are. Now, why do you think they're doing that? Do you think they're going to spend, let's say it's $5 billion to build not just the stadium, but the entire development, right? I wonder why they're doing that. My guess would be, I don't think it's a stretch, it's because they're going to make untold billions more when they not only have the new stadium where they get to maximize revenue from the people that go to the games, but not one, but two residential neighborhoods and a commercial complex, retail complex, all the money that they're going to be bringing in. Do you think they said, well, we're going to spend $5 billion and maybe we'll make $3 billion back? No. Or maybe they said, well, we can double our money. No, they're not looking at doubling their money. They're probably looking at 10 times their money. Probably thinking when this is all said and done, we'll make $100 or $200 billion. I have no idea the math on it, but they're going to make maybe it's $50 billion. They're going to make billions of dollars off this new deal, whether they stick it to Broncos fans for $400 million or $700 million or not. They're just greedy, and they're going to say, we're going to see what the market will bear, and we're going to stick it to the fan as much as possible. I cannot think of a bigger middle finger that the Broncos could give to their loyal fan base that has showed up with them through thick and thin and made this one of the most valuable sports franchises in the world. I cannot think of a bigger middle finger to give to your fans than to say, I know these tickets have been in your family maybe in some cases since the 1960s, but if you want to keep them, you need to go find a way to get a loan to pay us $30,000, $50,000, $100,000, $150,000. That, not cool. They're guilty. They will be guilty. They're not guilty now, but it's coming. They will be guilty of sports ownership hoggery.
All right, Dan, our final case, Your Honor, before we hit our commercial break. Check in with the lovely wife, Kimberly, on the phone lines. You know, and then the charge is creating an attractive nuance, right? So Waddle spoke to the media on Thursday and looked incredible. He's out there talking about how he's ready and he's building day-to-day chemistry with Bo Nix, and there's a crystal clear vision in this offense. Now, Alex Singleton is backing him up, saying that this 14-3 team from last year is essentially running it back with a brand new superstar weapon. Now, Your Honor, the prosecution argues that the building chemistry with the guy who is wearing a walking boot and holding a clipboard is logistically impossible. Give us the verdict, Dan. Is Jalen Waddle hype train fully certified by the court, or are you just issuing a state of execution until we see them hook up for a touchdown in the preseason?
I'm on the hype train. Now, I'm measured. I just don't see any realistic way that you can look at the addition of Jalen Waddle as a negative. I think it's a positive. They've needed sorely for years weapons on offense. My thing is they just didn't get enough. They got one. They added one. And then now, you know what I heard this week, which we're going to talk about later in the show, the same old tired arguments, recycled arguments. Okay, well, what about after that? And we're talking about Evan Ingram again. Like a couple different shows on the station this week, we're talking about, well, who's going to be whoever the third guy is, whether it's Marvin Mims or Troy Franklin or Pat Bryant or Evan Ingram. They're going to eat. Boy, they're going to eat. Well, that historically hasn't been all that true. In fact, even the Broncos' top guys haven't eaten. Courtland Sutton, and I hate to pile on the guy, but as the number one guy for like 4 straight years, struggles to get 1,000 yards. His touchdown receptions are down 30% over the last couple of seasons. He and Evan Ingram were top 5. I think they were both number 4, tied for number 3 or 4 in the league in drops. The next superstar not superstar, but the next mind-blowing offensive production from a Denver Bronco will be the first we've seen in 10 years since Peyton Manning was in town. We haven't had dynamic superstar type production in a long, long time. And so adding Jalen Waddle, I'm all for it. Add some more. I don't hear about this. We'll talk about it later in the show. Again, my brothers in the media drive me crazy this week with the lowering of the expectations for the Avs and Nuggets. Evan Ingram, we're going to prop him back up. We're going to trot him out because, guys get better in their 10th year, not worse. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Davis Webb calling plays is going to make Cortland Sutton and Evan Ingram all of a sudden forget that they're not supposed to drop the ball in key situations. They're just going to be better all of a sudden because of that. Oh, okay. Because Davis Webb. Hey, tell me, point to that game where Davis Webb really impressed you with his game plan and the way he called a play, and they pulled out a game at the end because he called the plays. Oh, wait, you can't because he's never done it before. But here we go again. It's the Bill Musgrave offense all over again. Well, the Davis Webb offense, he's going to be much better than Sean Payton, more dynamic. Bo Nix threw more passes than any quarterback in the league last year. But Davis Webb is just going to be chucking bombs like Russell Wilson every game? Get out of town with that. But no, to answer your question, Jalen Waddle, he's okay in my book. All right, Sean Boyd, good job. All right, somebody's agreeing with they hate to do it. It makes them sick to their stomach, but they're agreeing with James Marilat. We'll take a peek at that coming up next.
Is it just sack by? Or does it seem like people are always trying to make excuses as to why the Avalanche fell short of another Stanley Cup?
But here's the thing. It's like, before this, it was, it's just Dallas. Yeah. It's like, I get that on social media. Hey, they ran into a buzzsaw. Get over it. Well, last year was a buzzsaw against Dallas. Uh-huh. The year before, it was just another buzzsaw against Dallas. The year before, it was a first-round upset to the Kraken. It's like, it's always something.
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
DeerTrailMeatCo.com. DeerTrailMeatCo.com. I hit 50-50 last night on the barbecue. I did some ribs. By special request. That's the way barbecue goes, man. You knock it out of the park one week, and the next week, bleh. That's what I did with my ribs. I burned them up last night. They weren't great, but that smoked tenderloin was off the hook. It was fantastic. And my sister just got back from kind of an emotional family trip, and she had some great stories to share about this trip she took to the rainforest. And we got together. We had a good time. We went swimming, and then we ate some good food, and it was fantastic. Now, the nice thing is, I burned up the ribs, but I didn't feel guilty about it because it wasn't $20 or $30 a pound for the meat. Like right now, a lot of the steaks and stuff you get at the grocery store, $25, $30 a pound. Not at DeerTrailMeatCo.com. You pick your bundle. They'll deliver it to your front door with a money-back guarantee. Dan, what if I don't like it? Then you get your money back, period. Travis Valine will give you your money back. And it's going to be at a tremendous savings over what you pay at the big box stores, even the warehouse stores, even the club stores. A tremendous savings over all that. I want you to check them out. DeerTrailMeatCo.com, DeerTrailMeatCo.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-8157. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-8157. That's 800-575-8157.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Calling all food enthusiasts. Join Cresco Restaurant Equipment and Supply Company for their 4-day expo sale from June 10th to 13th in Aurora. Enjoy incredible discounts with top quality restaurant equipment and supplies. Meet factory reps, dive into their huge product selection, and enjoy free food and giveaways. Don't miss out. Visit them at 751 Billings Street and search for Cresco Denver Expo for details. Cresco, your local culinary headquarters.
Is your financial advisor managing your risk or just a spreadsheet? Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. Many financial advisors rely on target date funds, which are one-size-fits-all portfolios that don't know your name, your family, or your goals. And that passive management can leave you dangerously exposed. At Trajan, we look at the whole picture, not just the stocks everyone else buys, but the private market opportunities most advisors ignore. And as fiduciaries, we build a strategy around you, coordinating your investments, tax strategy, and estate into one cohesive plan. Your financial life deserves more than just a generic portfolio. Real planning isn't a stack of statements. It's the confidence of knowing where your income will come from for the next 30 years. Good enough isn't good enough for your family. It's time for a change. Schedule your complimentary consultation today. Call 855-TRAJAN-1. That's 855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Private equity investments require accreditation. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to reach a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now or go to carsforkids.org.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too?
It's the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
All right, a couple things here. Barbecue. One, the barbecue emergency. And also, Hayden Fisher. Dude, this guy. How about Hayden Fisher? We could point to Hayden Fisher as a sports radio listener, talk radio listener, and say he's doing it right. If you're not doing what Hayden's doing, you're doing it wrong. Hayden heard us talking about the best free meal in Denver. And he actually sent me an email over at 303-LAW-4040, and he was like, hey, man, if you need some help, I'd love to help. I got a group of guys, and we can make some meat. We like to smoke a little bit, smoke the meats. And he stepped up, and for years now, he does about 100 pounds of delicious pulled pork for us a month. And now, Hayden, I know you're listening. He's like, I thought you were in Ireland. I'm leaving on Monday. So, Hayden, we need you to come up strong for the best free meal in Denver. That'll be coming. We did one this week. But somebody called me the mayor. That's twice in last week I got called the mayor twice. One guy thought I was the mayor of Erie, and another guy pulled up to get his grocery. He goes, is the mayor here? I heard about this on the radio. But it's the best free meal in Denver. It's cool. It's every first and third Thursday. You just pull up, you pop the trunk. We put a bunch of fantastic groceries in your trunk, no questions asked. And then we say how many meals you need for the night, 4, 6, whatever. This week we did chicken, but Hayden will be helping us do pulled pork. And it's delicious, man. It's great. You would be paying $15, $20 a sandwich for this at a barbecue joint. We give it to you for free. We say, how many do you need? And we just pass them to you through the window. It's fantastic. So I want to say, I know he's listening. Hayden Fisher, thank you. I'm not going to be here to be smoking some meat, so we need as much as we can out of you, sir. Now, also, barbecue emergency on the RamosLaw.com text line. Dan, Traeger emergency. Stupid thing has skyrocketed to 370 degrees. I have it set to 250, now 225. Ribs are going up in smoke, no pun intended. Yeah, that's basically the worst flaw of a pellet grill. Is what happens. Step up from a Traeger. I like Traegers. Traegers are good quality. I'm not dragging down Traegers. If it works for you, good. Rectech's like a little step up from that. It's got the bullhorn handles, but we have like a monster one, like a commercial one at the church. We got it for the free meals and stuff. And they were doing something this week for something else, and they had 20 pork butts on. And this same thing happened, where what happens is, so there's a grease trap that takes up almost like under the grates of your grill. It's kind of at a slant, and what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to catch anything that drips off, and it goes down, and it drips out into a little bucket. And it catches all your grease and your juice and all that stuff. It's supposed to go in the bucket. Now, the problem is that it leaves a little room on the sides, right? It doesn't cover up the entire barrel. It probably needs a little airflow and stuff like that so the smoke has a way to get through. Well, what happens is when you have things on the edge outside of that grease trap, that it's not really a pan, but it's like a flat metal thing. Well, stuff goes then down into the barrel of the smoker, and that's okay for a while, But eventually you get these pools of grease, and then they kind of mix with the pellet dust because the pellets burn and they kind of create a dust. And then eventually they're going to catch fire. Or if you don't clean the grease trap, what I do is I just foil them, or you have a drywall scraper. But you got to clean that thing religiously because also that will just burn and scorch and make your heat temp rise. But I did back when I had Jake and Joel's barbecue company, I was doing a big cook. I think I had to cook 20 briskets in a week. And so I had like 5 on at a time just on my little Rectech at home. And all that fat from the brisket got down into the barrel and it caught fire. And when I say caught fire, I thought I was going to burn the deck down because the flames were 9 feet in the air. Like when you lifted the lid, the oxygen got to the fire and it was going up and it was kissing my deck, the underside of my deck. I'm like, I'm going to burn it down. Plus my briskets are burning. So you do have to probably a couple times a year. And the problem is once it starts, it's hard to cure. But so you got to get that grill as clean as possible and either put foil on that grease tray or just scrape it with a drywall knife every time. Just, you pop the grill grates off. But you're doing the right thing. What you got to do is there will be a temperature that will be low enough for now to get you through the rest of your cook. Maybe hopefully it's 225, maybe it's 215. But at some point it will stop catching fire because it won't be night. Pit Boss traditionally has been on the lower end. I've seen they're coming out with some high-end stuff. Like you go into like Lowe's or Home Depot and there's some pretty solid looking Pit Boss stuff. I know when they first came out, they were not highly thought of. The biggest problem would be not necessarily that you can't cook with them, but that when the pellet grills break down a lot. And are you going to get the support out of a Pit Boss? Traeger has great support. Rectech, heck, I got the cell phone number of the owner of the company when I got my Rectech, and they gave me one for free. The first one just had too many problems, and I kind of yelled at them, and they were like, all right, well, we'll just send you a new one. And they sent me a new one, and I had to send the old one back. Great customer service out of both Rectech and Traeger. Cannot go wrong with those guys. So that's what's going on there. Hey, Dan, I got to read this one. Hey, Dan, looking for a bone-in porterhouse or ribeye about 2.5 or 3 inches thick that weighs about 3.5 or 4 pounds. Any suggestion? Yeah, you're just going to smoke. You're just going to smoke that, man. Like I'm really big on, right now I'm doing smoked tenderloin. It's amazing. You just do a little bit of olive oil with garlic powder or granulated garlic and Lowry seasoned salt. It is butter. Just don't overcook it. But yeah, I mean, that's what I would do on that. Somebody asked me earlier, why aren't you talking barbecue, Dan? Well, that ties into this post, which is from Mike. He says, Judge, I don't think you heard when Phil was throwing flowers that Zach and Cecil were the only hosts that he knows that could host a show solo. Neither Cecil or Zach mentioned the great Dan Jacobs. Time to take the gloves off. P.S. Why can't you wait until they announce the PSLs before you bury them? All right, let's take these separately. Guys, I'm just like you. It's like the movie, I think it was called Rockstar with Donnie Wahlberg, where he was like a cover band guy. He loved, what was the name of the band in that? Steel Dragon was the rock star. They were from England, and he just loved singing their songs. Well, they fired the lead singer and they brought him in, and he would always say before the show, or to the show, to the fans during the show, he'd say, guys, I'm just a guy that grew up with posters of these guys on my wall, and now I'm one of them. So I always say I had like a Zach By poster on my wall when I was growing up as a kid, right? Next to my Mike Evans poster. I'm just happy to be here. I know they don't think of me I'm never going to come to mind when they're talking about the other hosts during this shows during the week, and that's fine. Philip Lindsay, the only thing Philip Lindsay's ever said about me was he said, I was talking about the Buffs. He's like, you gonna trust Dan Jacobs? So I'm not going to come to the top of mind when Phil Lindsay talks about it. It's fine. But they have said recently, you talk about doing solo shows. I'm the guy they want doing the solo show. In fact, they've said recently, somebody was asking like, Dan, why aren't you talking more barbecue? Because they came to me recently and they said, you know what? We want more Dan Jacobs, and we want less barbecue talk, and we want less Zach By, and we want less Cecil Lammey, and we want less James Marilat on the Dan Jacobs show. Give us more cowbell. In this case, cowbell being Dan Jacobs. They don't go to Zach Bye and say, why don't we just have you host half the show with Philip Lindsay? No, they know that he needs. Zach came on this show. I think the last time he came on, he tried to run some smack. He's like, Dan, I don't just get to host a little weekend show where I just talk to myself for an hour or two. I'm like, well, Zach, it's 6 hours.
Wait a minute, Zach said that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I said, wow, taking a shot on him. He goes, well, if the shoe fits. And I said, well, that's right. You know, I'm just here doing my little 6 hours on the weekend. But, you know, when you get the chance, let me know what it's like to have a former athlete carrying you 5 days a week. Oh, I don't have anybody to carry me. They don't say Dan has to have a former athlete to have a good show. They just say, Dan, you do a good show. In fact, we want less of the other guys on the show. But I love them. It's not their fault. None of them are going to mention Dan Jacobs. That's fine. I'm just happy that we have our thing going here on the weekend. Sean Boyd, you're a part of it now. Listeners, you're a part of it. YouTubers, man, I'm excited about this YouTube thing because I think we can build the community on the Champ Honda YouTube chat line even more because you guys get to mix it up with each other. I just love, because I hear from you guys we get calls every day at 303 Law 4040 from loyal listeners like you. And I just wish I could express to station management, like, what a awesome community we've built here over the last 7 years on the Dan Jacobs Show. So I don't need any flowers from Philip Lindsay or any of those guys. I love my teammates. I'm just honored to be a little tiny piece of what they're putting together out there. So they're all awesome. So 1 more hour to go before we take a 1 week hiatus as I go drive DeLoreans around Ireland. The Dan Jacobs Show, final hour coming up next.
Parents, looking for a fun way to get your kid active this summer?
Are you kidding me?
DenverSports 104.3 The Fan's third annual Be a Mentor, Be a Fan Youth Football Camp is back. Brought to you by Walmart. Saturday, June 27th at Denver South High School's All-City Stadium. Your child ages 8 to 14 will learn the fundamentals of football in a safe, hands-on environment from people who played the game at the highest level. We're talking former Denver Broncos Mark Schlereth, Philip Lindsay, and Brandon Stokely, along with a trusted coaching staff from Denver South. And every dollar raised goes to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Colorado. So your family is giving back just by showing up. Sign up today at denversports.com/camp. That's denversports.com/camp.
Hard. Golf ball size hail, damaged shingles, cracked siding, dented gutters. You might not see it from the ground, but your roof took a beating. And I don't want you to wait around for a leak to find out. Call Monarch Construction and Roofing today for your free no-obligation storm damage inspection. Monarch works directly with your insurance company, so you don't have to. Monarch Construction and Roofing, your local Denver storm damage experts. Visit monarchroofing.com to schedule your appointment today. Monarch Roofing is your official roofer of the Denver Broncos.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Wait, everything on this IHOP value menu is just $6?
I told you it was amazing. A huge plate of pancakes, bacon, and eggs is just $6.
Wow.
There's also French toast, a ham and cheese omelet, and oh, they got a BLT and fries now.
Okay, we're coming here every day.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Feast for just $6 with the IHOP value menu.
$7 in some locations, available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
Hey guys, Mark Schlereth here from my friends at Spine One. Let me ask you a question. You live with back pain, neck pain. Well, my guys at Spine One, they're an emergency room for back pain with same-day appointments. They'll see you and they'll get the journey started. And that's exactly what I did. Whether it's chronic pain, acute pain, work-related, sports-related, doesn't matter. All you got to do is pick up the phone and start your journey just like I did toward pain-free. 303-367-2225. That's 303-367-BACK. Or as always, you can find them online at spineone.com.
There's a pill version of Ozempic.
Hello, I'm Ozempic. And I'm other GLP-1s kind of like him. Hey, did I hear there's a pill version of Ozempic? Yep, you sure did. Ask your doctor about which FDA-approved uses of the Ozempic pen or pill may be right for you. Call 1-833-OZEMPIC or visit Ozempic.com to view the medication guide and learn more about Ozempic semaglutide tablets 9 milligrams and Ozempic semaglutide injection 2 milligrams.
There's a pill version of Ozempic.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. You're listening to Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan presents the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs.
I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you, give it to you, give it to you, give it to you.
All right. Final segment, final hour of the Dan Jacobs Show. We're going to Ireland. I'm pretty excited. Anybody been to Ireland? I feel like a kid at Christmas. You know, we've never done like a big trip like this, so it's cool. And I'm going to go do what I love. I get to hang out with DeLorean nerds, that type of thing. I did the Comic-Con last week. That was a little underwhelming. Hopefully, I have a better experience with the DeLorean folks. The Comic-Con was cool. I was in the, Sean, I don't know if I talked about this. I think I did. I was in the parking garage, and we're trying to figure out how to get to the event, right? And I see this nice couple. They come up to me, and we're like looking for the exit, you know, to try and get to where we're going. And I say, oh, I think it's over here. And they go, yeah. And then they start walking ahead of me, and the guy's clickety-clack. He's got the Mr. Tomness hooves on his feet from the Chronicles of Narnia, you know, like the half man, half fawn. It's called a fawn.
The Centaurus.
Yeah, centaur or whatever. Yeah, he's just like clickety-clack. I'm like, here we go. This is what I'm here for. I want to see all that stuff. So it was fun, but it was mainly just, they were just inviting you to make a bunch of bad decisions. Is essentially
spend a lot of money on cartoons.
Right, spend a lot of money on cartoons or toys. I was there for 90 minutes. I spent $300 on stuff I absolutely didn't need. And then I was mad at myself because I didn't buy a fat cat with a tiny head stuffed animal. I was like, I should have spent more money. I was hoping my buddy was still there so he could buy this stuffed animal. And I was just there for a blink of an eye. Now think about the guys buying the $1,000 lightsabers or all the crazy stuff they have there, and it's all packed in. It's like going to an antique store. These antique stores now that are like you rent a booth and you just jam it full of stuff, and they put as many booths in the store as you can, and you're all jammed in there. That's what it is. It's just all nerd stuff. And then and then there's like a curtain, and then there's all these quote celebrities that you pay to get an autograph from. People have. Can you imagine, Sean, going to get an autograph from a guy that played a voice in a video game?
I can't imagine, but then again, you know, if the guy was, monumental, or his role was monumental, or I use the word impactful a lot. So if he had any type of impact on the video game, then yeah, maybe it might be a cool thing.
Yeah, there were a lot of quote unquote celebrities that I was like, hey, I don't know. Now, what was fun was, and I've never even seen this show, but Reno 911 is a show on cable or whatever.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite shows.
Is it? Well, so the guy that plays the cop that wears the short shorts, he was there and he was into it. Like he was coming around the table and he'd have you hold him. Like he's got his whole outfit on where he's like almost talk about Centaur. He's got like a police shirt on the top and then like little shorts and high heels on the bottom. Like he was totally into character.
Oh, he was leaning.
It was fantastic. And then I'm trying to think, Ron Howard's daughter, I think her name is Bryce Howard something, or that really attractive redhead that's in Jurassic Park and all those movies. She was there. She was doing great. Jamie Presley, who one of the most attractive women of our childhoods. She was in Joe Dirt and some other things. I think she was in My Name is Earl. She was there. I think probably the biggest celebrity that came in was the guy from Frodo from Lord of the Rings. Ralph Macchio was there. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big deal. But yeah, so some of those guys I could see getting autographs from and whatnot. But the other ones I was like, wow. Yeah, that's a little weird. Centaur, nerd license revoked. Well, it was a fawn. Is right? Like I said it right. Fawn. Now, nobody's ever going to accuse Sean Boyd of having a nerd card. You're cool. You're cooler than the other side of the pillow, right?
I don't think that I've ever spent a day as a nerd, but in my freshman year of high school, in the urban community that I was in, they called me an off-brand.
What's that mean? A weirdo?
It's kind of like a lame, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this guy, all he does is just play football and basketball. So, like, all the thugging and bugging that was going on around me, they just left me alone for the most part. But then I found out as I got older, because my dad was he was a probation officer for the youth back then, before he became a cop. But he told the kids at the school that were on his caseload to not let anything happen to me. So I had guardian angels all around me, and I didn't even know it.
Very nice. Very nice. I like to hear that, man. That's awesome. Takes a village, so to speak.
Yeah, because I was in a place where we call it the trenches. Things were getting real around there at that time. 01.
Where was that?
Man, if I say it, I'm gonna feel bad because I just bashed my little community.
What is it?
Montbello.
Oh, well, what, you think Montbello's never heard that type of language before?
No, I just hate to be the guy to be talking like that. You know what I mean? So it just was it was a little bit of a rough spell at that school at the time, and because of my dad being who he was, like I thought that I was just like. I thought I was cool because nobody was messing with me, but it turns out that he had laid down the law and told him, don't touch that guy.
Awesome. They took care of it. They respected that. Russ in Loveland says, I was interested to talk about the Broncos and the Cooper situation. I didn't realize this was a cooking show. I'll go online and check the schedule again. Sorry. That's Russ from Loveland. You can't please everybody, I guess. What I responded to Russ was, we spent the entire first hour talking about Jonathan Cooper in one way or another. Was that not enough for you? The fact that a loyal Dan Jacobs Show listener is having a problem with his grill and he texts in, he asks for a little help, is that a problem? We're talking about a community. We're a community here. We're lifting it up. A couple more texts to get to. This is the one that, I'm sorry, Dan, but I surprisingly agree with James. So you get rid of 3 players you suggested to, quote, save the owner money. Tell all of us who you suggest they replace them with. You are proposing a course of action with absolutely no solution or specific plan on how that makes the team better. Madness, Ben from Aurora. And I'm happy.
You blew it!
I'm happy to address what you're saying, which part of what I addressed was with James. James like, oh, we're gonna have less talented players and be better. To which I responded, well, 2 years ago, they had no bench. They had Russell Westbrook, who hurt more than he helped coming off the bench. And they took the Thunder to 7 games with worse players. And we were told right after that season was over, well, we're so hamstrung by contracts, we can't get better. There's no way of making our team better, because one of the frustrating things was we saw Oklahoma City running waves of players out there, and we're like, man, if we had that type of depth, we'd be unstoppable. But all the experts said, no, it's impossible. Yeah, the Michael Porter Jr. contract's untradeable. All these roadblocks, we can't do it. And then guess what they did? They did it. So if they had prescribed to your line of thinking, Ben, which is, well, if you can't sketch out on paper the better alternative, then you just got to stand pat. Well, how about this? What if instead of saying, oh, I'm going to settle for less because I'm afraid of what might lie in the future, what if you said, you know what? No, we're going to go after it. We're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to make improvements. Now, you're probably staring at, the answer also, Ben, is you're probably staring at a situation where the Nuggets don't have a choice. And I understand the argument that Stan Kroenke, in fact, James made the argument yesterday. He likes to make it known that Stan Kroenke is the largest landowner in the United States. He can afford whatever the tax is. Well, not if it's $200 million. Could he afford it? Yes. Does that make sense? Why would anybody in their right mind invest $200 million extra on top of the $250 million or whatever you're going to pay them just to play the game, but just set another $200 million or more dollars on fire to invest in a team that has no heart, that can't beat a Minnesota Timberwolves team without three of their best players, and without a doubt, their best player? Why would you do that? That would be insane. That makes no sense. Why? Because he's rich? He's not going to do that. First off, we know he's not going to do it because he's incredibly cheap, but I will say I don't blame him. They need a reset. And so you're going to ask me to take away three players? I will, and I don't think they're going to be that much worse. Okay, you remove Aaron Gordon because he can't stay healthy. Not that we don't like him, but he cost $32 million a year, and he can't stay healthy. And it's not just me saying that. The owner of the team, Josh Kroenke, who's in charge of the team, said the same thing, and he's not a guy that would normally say something like that. It's a major concern. So you're going to invest $32 million for a guy who 2 years in a row essentially derailed your championship chances because he can't play. He can't get himself on the court in the playoffs. But let's go all in on him. Does that make a lot of sense? He's $32 million. I've been told, I still want to see it, but I've been told Payton Watson is the next big thing. Well, then just slide him in there. You pay him $20 million this year, you save $12 million off the cap. Boom. Makes a lot of sense. Jamal Murray makes $50 million. And he killed you in the playoffs the last couple of years. You are not, we've seen this act before. You are not going to win a championship if he's your second best player. And the problem is when he's on the squad, you can't keep him accountable. He's going to eat as much as he wants. And when he's shooting 20% from three-point land, you just got to live with it, and it kills you. You can't overcome it. You need to get rid of Jamal Murray, and that's $50 million off the cap. And Cam Johnson is not going to be here long term. And he has an attractive contract that you want to trade for because it goes off the books after next season, so maybe you can get rid of him. Did any of those three guys help you win a championship this year? No. In fact, were those three guys major reasons why you didn't get out of the first round and you were humiliated? Not just, well, we didn't win a championship. You were humiliated in the first round in large part because of those three guys. And they're making over $100 million next year against the payroll. By the way, the cap's not that big. The cap is, I think, $170 or so million. You're paying $100 million for those three guys that crippled your chances in the playoffs this year. Is you think the Nuggets are going to be worse next year by getting rid of those contracts, Ben? You tell me, how much worse will they be than a embarrassing, humiliating, all-time historic humiliation in the first round of the playoffs next year? How much worse could they be? Miss the playoffs? I don't care if they miss the playoffs. If they have no realistic chance of competing, then yes, I would rather they take a gap year, like Zach Bye is saying. Yes, take a year off. It sucks for Nikola Jokic, but they waste his prime every single year. They got to reload, and that's why they didn't get rid of David Adelman. They know. Why would you go spend a bunch of money on a big-time coach when you know you're going to have to strip some meat off the bone of the roster? Doesn't make any sense. Done with Sean Payton. You bring in Sean Payton when the team is still bad. You don't say, well, we'll build a roster. Like what I think the Nuggets are going to do is they're going to take their lumps next year. They're going to have a gap year, and then they can decide if they're serious about a coach. But they're like, why would we pay double? They're cheap. Now, I don't blame them. I think it's good because if they take the gap year, they strip down as much as they can, get under the tax completely, then they're no longer in repeater status. That repeater tax is no joke. Just get under it. You made some bad contracts, fix it, and then move on, and you have, 3-4 years left, 2 to 4 years left of Nikola Jokic's prime, and you see if you can make one more run at a championship. That's how you make sense, Ben. It's not about you have to replace everybody that goes out the door with a better player. Of course you're not going to be able to do that. But you're saying, how are they going to get better? Well, they were better with a worse team. They're going to get better because they're going to probably get rid of, let a lot of dead weight go. Jamal Murray, for example, it's addition by subtraction. And maybe you get some young guys in here that are hungry. That was one of the laughable notions that I heard within the last month or within the last 2 months. Who could ever have the type of chemistry that Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray have? How about anybody that's really good at basketball that's also going to play with Nikola Jokic? Nikola Jokic is going to make good chemistry with whoever his number 2 is. Get out of town with that. So that's my thing. Now, it was interesting along the lines of, oh, by the way, on the argument about the PSLs, why are you talking about the PSLs now, Dan? Because I just hope that if we talk about it enough and we shed enough light on it, if we wait until they institute it, it's too late. Why bother? But if you got, all I'm doing is giving you guys an opportunity to have your voices heard on the PSL issue. And if we can illustrate how absurd and short-sighted it is for the Broncos ownership to give that type of middle finger to its fan base over a relatively small amount of money that they're going to recoup out of these PSLs, then maybe, most likely not, but maybe we could affect a little change. Maybe we can help Broncos country out a little bit. But I don't like it. It's a money grab, sticking it to the fans. It's a blatant way for the team to give a middle finger to its fan base, which is particularly hurtful in this market because the Denver Broncos have been supported by this fan base through thick and thin, and I hate the fact that I know what's going to happen. They did it 20-some years ago when they did Empower Field. They went and they said, how can we maximize corporate dollars? How can we break up the South Stands? We don't want rowdy people. And they broke up fans that had gone through this experience, this game day experience together. Particularly, I used the South Stands. It wasn't just the South Stands, but their families had tailgated and sat in the stands together. They had a camaraderie, and they produced a second-to-none home field advantage for the Denver Broncos. They would stomp. They knew the stadium, Mile High Stadium. They knew how to stomp and make it loud and scary and the building shake a little bit. Like they knew how to support the team. And the Broncos said, well, yeah, but we can get some of those corporate dollars. And it was even John Lynch saying, man, it was good in this one playoff game because I felt like we actually had a home field advantage, which we usually don't. And so we have all these families that have scraped and saved to be able to splurge on season tickets for sometimes up to 60 years. And the Broncos are going to say, yeah, we appreciate your support before, but if you can't afford it, don't worry. There's somebody behind you. They'll gladly take your place in line. Like, I just don't like it. It's bad enough they're raising ticket prices 10 to 20% every year. So who knows how much tickets will be. By the way, you think they're just going to keep the ticket prices the same? My guess would be not. The prices of the tickets in addition to the PSLs will probably go up. That would be my guess.
See, Dan, I got some people on the text line that I feel like their optimism is like, why would we condemn the Broncos brass for something that hasn't taken place yet, right? And you're saying that we're trying to be a little bit proactive in spreading the message before it gets out, before people are blindsided and now nobody's showing up to the game. Do I have that correct?
What do you mean nobody's showing up to
like
the game?
People, like let's say season ticket holders are actually calling the Denver Broncos bluff.
Well, that's what's probably going to happen. They'll have to have enough non-season ticket renewals. And remember, they claim they have. I believe them. Okay, there is a list somewhere that has 100. In fact, I'm on the list. 100,000 names on it of people that would love to get a phone call saying, yes, do you want season tickets? Because there aren't enough season tickets in the stadium allocated or available so that everybody can buy them. So that's true. That list does exist. But here's another thing that I know is true. They struggle to sell the club seats. How do I know that? Because when the new stadium was built, they did not sell out the club seats because at that time they were quite a bit more expensive. I think it was $5,000 or $10,000 for a pair of season tickets to the club level. And you would see for a while, it took them a while to sell those 5,000 or 10,000 seats. And you could see up at that level of the stadium, there were large swaths of empty seats. So not everybody that was on that waiting list just said, okay, well, they offered it to everybody on the waiting list. And the people on the waiting list said, no, we're not going to pay that. In fact, now there's a separate list. And by the way, I didn't get into this last time, but I appreciate there was a listener that texted in. He says, yes, Dan, I'm on the list that you were talking about. So there's two waiting lists. There's the waiting list that's 100,000 strong for people that just want to get into the stadium. But there's a separate waiting list for people that would be willing to pay extra to be in the club level or premium seating. And you have to actually give $100 per seat that you would like to purchase it's a deposit to be on that wait list. You have to pay to get on that wait list. And the texter said, yeah, Dan, I'm actually on that. And they told me it would be 4 or 5 seasons as opposed to, I don't know if it's 8 or 10 or 15 or 20. I don't know how long it is if you're on the wait list of just to get in the building, but it's probably a decade or more, whereas you can skip the line, but it's still 4 or 5 years to get in on the club level. Well, what that tells you is people want to be in the building. People want to buy season tickets, but if they have to finance or come up with a lump sum payment of $50,000 to $100,000 just to be able to do it, I don't know what the market will bear. I know I got called an elitist because I said 5,000 wasn't that much money. And Sean, you told me that is too much money, or that's a lot of money. And so how about 50,000 or 100,000? How many people are out there that are going to be willing to do that? I don't know. So they'll have to adjust it. Like, for example, the Carolina Panthers. They got hoggy and they can't sell their PSLs. So you can finance your PSLs at $21 a month. Like you used to finance Columbia House records when you were a kid, or CDs, right? You get the first batch for a penny and then you'd spend $20 a month for your CDs. Well, you can do that for your PSLs with the Carolina Panthers because there's not enough people. The San Francisco 49ers, I think half the teams in the league, popular teams, the Niners, who have a new stadium, the Chiefs, who were in a dynasty. You can pay, if you want to pay the PSL, you can just go buy season tickets for, I think, at least half the teams in the league right now, because not everybody's willing to pay for the privilege of buying season tickets on top of paying for the season tickets. Because that's what you're doing. You're saying, not only do I think our product is worth X amount every single game, but on top of that, you need to pay for the privilege. Which might be okay if you're new to the organization. I just think it's a pretty crappy deal for your loyal customers that have supported you through thick and thin, in some cases for 60 plus years, like 6 or 7 decades. I think it's pretty crummy. And so, yeah, if we're going to talk about it, now is the time, because once they announce the policy, it's too late. But ultimately, it's up to you guys. Do you care or do you not care? If you don't care, we'll stop talking about it. But I think it is an important issue because you know what? One of the reasons that fans can't go to games anymore is because we got to pay Russell Wilson $2 to $5 or $10 million to spit cliches at us next year. That's what it's come to. The fan gets screwed. Maybe you don't have a problem with that. I'm starting to have kind of a big problem with it. All right, coming up next, I think I know. Maybe they could just go all in on a package for this coach. The Avs and Nuggets can share a coach. Here's all they need. We'll get into that coming up next.
With Courtland Sutton and Jalen Waddle being the top guys, who will end up being the Broncos' third most productive receiver this season?
Evan Ingram. I think you might see, he's in the second year here. He'll be more comfortable with Bo, with the offense. And then I think you're going to see Davis Webb highlight the tight end more than maybe Sean Payton did.
I think Pat Bryant is a guy that they really like.
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Jacob's Law, 303 Law 4040. 303 Law 4040. I used to always talk about being the barbecue lawyer. Actually, I used to give pans of brisket out at settlements. People would come in, they ring that bell, and I would give them the gift of the Dan Jacobs barbecue, and they would go on their merry way. They could eat for the week or whatever. Kind of, haven't done that in a while. But I was up. Somebody had called 303 Law 4040. They got the number from their boss. And it was a very serious accident. I actually had to go up to the hospital in Loveland, and the person's dad is a cook. And so of course I shot my mouth off, right? I was like, all right, I do barbecue. And I asked the lady, I said, I got to come back for some paperwork tomorrow. Do you need anything to make you a little more comfortable while you're here in the hospital? She said, Dan, will you bring me some barbecue? So I did. I brought her some barbecue. Name a big made-for-TV lawyer that's going to come to your hospital room and bring you barbecue. You can't, because it's not going to happen. We're a family-run firm. You've heard about my lovely wife, Kimberly. You're going to get our cell phone numbers. There's no AI chat bots that take your call or call centers overseas. It's just my wife and I and our team. You get all of our cell phone numbers. We're here to help you get feeling better and to get some compensation for what you've been through. It's Jacob's Law. Go ahead, save that number in your phone. I hope you never need it, but you just never know. It's 303 Law 4040.
Snapshot from Progressive wasn't created for just anybody. Oh no, we made it for you. Smooth accelerators. When that light turns green, you're off. Like a warm knife through firm butter. Going from 0 to the speed limit in an appropriate amount of time. Sure, your car has horsepower, but your horses prance around as silky smooth as your right foot. Fancy Prancerton. With Snapshot, safe drivers like you get personalized rates based on your driving habits. Sign up today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-771-1300. That's 800-771-1300.
Calling all food enthusiasts. Join Cresco Restaurant Equipment and Supply Company for their 4-day expo sale from June 10th to 13th in Aurora. Enjoy incredible discounts with top quality restaurant equipment and supplies. Meet factory reps, dive into their huge product selection, and enjoy free food and giveaways. Don't miss out. Visit them at 751 Billings Street and search for Cresco Denver Expo for details. Cresco, your local culinary headquarters.
Hi folks, Dan Cicchini, Done Right Home Improvements. My wife Susan and I started Done Right in our garage in 1985, doing a little of everything. We've grown to be one of the largest companies of our kind in Colorado, specializing in kitchens, baths, counters, floors, finished basements, and windows and doors. Serving Colorado 40 years. And what an adventure it's been. We've learned that the fundamentals of a successful business never change. That is, treat people like you want to be treated, do good work, price fairly, and back up what you say. That's our success formula. Here's our son Todd.
That's right, Dad. Been hearing that my whole life from you and Mom. Folks, whether it's a first-class kitchen renovation, an awesome turnkey bathroom remodel, a full-service basement finish for some extra space, or replacement windows and doors that will wow you, give us a call. With an 8% scheduling incentive and bank financing to ask about, now couldn't be a better time.
Kitchens, baths, counters, and floors, finished basements, windows, and doors. You have our word. We'll treat you right at Done Right. Call us to reserve your spot in our schedule. 303-722-2295, 800-362-8370, or drhi.com.
All right, Broncos country, listen up. Philip Lindsay here. And for stress-free summer travel, I chose Hermes Worldwide. Forget the airport chaos. Hermes Worldwide offers comfortable, reliable transportation for your airport transfers and more. They're dependable, they're professional, so you can focus on your vacation. Make your summer travel easy. Give them a call today at 303-577-7600, or you can visit them online at ridehermes.com/DenverSports. Again, that's ridehermes.com/DenverSports to book your next ride today.
You're listening to the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
I'm the judge. Everybody knows that he is the judge.
Half hour to go. And we'll be in Ireland next weekend for DeLorean Eurofest. By the way, this guy keeps texting in, Sean. He thinks that I should pop for tickets for you and your lovely wife to go to Ireland. And we'll broadcast live from a castle.
My first instinct when I seen that was, well, dang, is that possible? Secondly, I started to think, well, Dan does have the bag for it, so he could.
Oh, get out of town. Well, first off, if I brought you, how are you going to run the board from Ireland?
Well, a remote setup, I don't even know how it would go. Maybe you and I would be out there remote and somebody would be here running the board. I don't know. I'd get a crazy bump for a day. I just started imagining all these wild possibilities, and then I got back to reality. He said, I'll be right here.
Yeah. But no, hey, I love that your people got your back out there.
I like that. Y'all, keep pumping it to Dan. He just might. He's already done some very nice things for me already. So, we'll just keep the good times rolling.
All right, so somebody says, I've been on the wait list 14 years, and I'm still 6,000 spots away.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we talked about, people being on these waiting lists, and obviously, do you pay to wait, or do you just sit on the list until your time comes?
So it depends on which list you're on. By the way, I'm texting this texter back. Would you pay $50,000 for PSLs to get into the new state? I want to know, because this guy's number 6,000 on the list. So I want to know. Okay, so he's what we're wondering about. Right, like on the list. I talked to a lot of season ticket holders that they're already just planning. Yeah, we're keeping them until they ask for the PSLs, and then we're out. We're not doing it.
I mean, think about it like this: new PSLs come into play or don't come into play, right? You're going to want to have tickets to that Morgan Wallen concert in the new stadium.
Okay, by the way, that was something that you asked me, and we never got to a few weeks ago. If you buy season tickets to the Denver Broncos, do you get tickets to everything? And I started to say at Ball Arena, and actually Chad Andrus pointed this out to me. He's like, how could that be? So there are so at Ball Arena, for example, you can buy a yearly lease, which you get the suite for almost everything. Monster trucks, Disney on Ice, all the Avs and Nuggets, most of the concerts. But let's say, so it's a super premium concert. It's my understanding that you would get a right of first refusal on that, but if you didn't pay extra, you would not have the ability to go to your suite for certain ultra premium events. That's if you said, I'm buying the whole shebang. I'm spending, I don't know, $500,000 a year. Generally, that's going to be a corporation or something like that. If you don't get that. My understanding is with the PSLs, they will give you special access and opportunities to buy certain things, like let's just pretend it's the Morgan Wallen concert. You may get some opportunities to get in the building, whereas you wouldn't have had before.
And see, Dan, I'm starting to get the feeling that the Walter Penner Group believes that ownership. They believe that the Broncos are going to have another season that duplicates last season of 14-3, somewhere around there, right? And so
For now, yeah.
If you start to think, well, hey, we're going to be good for a little while, we might as well raise the price up a little bit with the PSLs, because people are going to want to see a winning product.
Well, they do raise the prices. My tickets went up, I think, 19% this year. They go up every year since they've been there. They raise the prices.
And is that because they're winning, or is that because
they can get away with it? I think they can get away with it because they're winning. The Broncos fan base is so loyal that when they were really, really bad during the Trevor Siemian, the Case Keenum years, all the Joe Flacco years, the Drew Lock years, they would be completely out of it. No chance at making the playoffs. And they really didn't have meaningful no-shows until later in the year. And then they may have 12,000. I think maybe one game they had like 20,000 no-shows. That's a huge statement out of the fan base. They're going to show up no matter what. So, but right now they're on the upswing. And so they know they can get away with it. And that's fine. It's supply and demand. But to get back to this, texter responded. He says, I've been on the wait list for 14 years and I'm still 6,000 spots away. And so I said, would you pay $50,000 for PSLs to get into the new stadium? His answer was HE double hockey sticks, no.
Yeah, no way.
And so if I talk to season ticket holders that almost every time say, we're already planning for it, we're just leaving. Like, it's just not worth it. Once they hit us with the PSLs, we're out. Well, if they're out, how many of the 100,000 that are waiting are also going to be like, yeah, we'd love to be there, but we don't have 50 or 100 grand sitting around.
And that's just a logistic approach, right? That's just the normal person out there, the average person that loves their team, that's trying to support their team. They're now finding themselves with their back against the wall, to where people are you're going to see a little bit of the fan base diminish, just a taste.
Right. Well, and what you brought up was, yeah, they're good now, but we're talking about 6 years from now. Garrett Bowles won't be here. Cortland Sutton won't be here. Almost nobody on the team. You could say Bo Nix most likely will be here unless Zach Bye's right and his feet fall off and he's rolling around town in a wheelchair or in a scooter. But outside of Bo Nix, who do you think's going to be here?
Jonah Coleman.
Okay, maybe, if he's good enough. Was he in the 5th round?
Yeah, and I seen something too, Dan. I seen a report that J.K. Dobbins was giving Jonah Coleman a hard time, showing him some tough love and not necessarily being like that guy that helps out. He's being that guy that's trying not to lose his spot.
Yeah, that's interesting because Joe Flacco was like that here. Peyton Manning was like that. Name the great quarterback that Peyton Manning tutored that went on to greatness. And the answer is it doesn't exist.
Jim Sorgi.
He was a killer. Poor Brock Osweiler. They tell Brock, go in the game. He grabs his helmet. He reaches to the bench to grab his helmet, and then Peyton waves him off. He's like, no, I'm not coming out. And I understand. I'll ask you, because you were in a tough situation, right? You were always fighting. You played professional football. You were always fighting at a position where there's always competition, right?
I was fighting from the ground up. So, yes,
receiver.
I'm out the back door.
So the year you made the Vigilantes, made good money, did you feel an obligation to help somebody beat you out of your job?
You know what's crazy is I was the last guy brought to the team, right? So I was brought in like week 3, and the rest of the receivers in the room were looking at me like, who is this dude? He doesn't talk like any of us because it's down south, right? So I'm this proper talking individual, and I come in the room city slicking, and they're looking at me like, dude, every day that I walked into the locker room, they're like, you're going to have to earn your way to even get on the field because you're the newest guy and nobody likes you here. And that's how I felt. I felt like an outsider. And none of them were doing anything. There actually was one guy that I forget his name. His name was Dante, but he did everything in his power to try to wheel me in because, again, I was an off-brand all over again, Dan, just the outsider, just trying to fit in.
Well, But you still didn't answer the question.
Oh, well, let me get back
Do you
to
feel as an athlete that you need to help train your replacement?
Absolutely. I think that Kirk Cousins has to do the best job he can this time around to train Fernando Mendoza to actually take over the franchise when that time comes. And I think in retrospect to Jonah Coleman and J.K. Dobbins, he has to do everything he possibly can to help that rookie out. Because, J.K., your life expectancy in the NFL at this point is coming to an end.
Well, I would say I see where J.K. is coming from. He's fighting for his livelihood.
His injury history is put him in this predicament.
And he's not even getting paid probably what he's worth. Like, he's scrapping. Every year now for J.K. Dobbins could be his last. Man, I don't need to coach up the youngsters. Is it in your personality or is it not? It wasn't in Joe Flacco's personality, right? So I can see this is a cutthroat business. This is, stories, if you thought you made the team and then you get cut because they brought in Sean Boyd in week 3 and you went home, right? Like, this is cutthroat. Why do I have to tell you how to do your job? It's nice of you. We all want to believe in a warm, fuzzy world that's what would be happening. But man, if you're in a profession where you got to get what you can while you can. The average career in the NFL is, I think, 3 years. And then what are you going to do? Like, if you can, put away enough money so you can be all right for as long as you need to be.
What if DeMarcus Ware had the same mentality as Kirk Cousins and Joe Flacco did when he came here to Denver with him and Von Miller?
Well, he got paid, and he wasn't trying to overtake Von Miller, and he knew his time was short, and he wanted a ring. His motivations were different. But if your motivation is staying around as long as possible and keeping your job, Von Miller never had to worry about getting cut. Peyton Manning doesn't have to worry about getting cut. Right now, Bo Nix doesn't have to worry about getting cut. But for everybody else, like Joe Flacco, who was an older quarterback, why do I want to train up my replacement? If I'm Kirk Cousins, I don't want to train up Michael Penix Jr. I don't care about Mendoza. I want to stay in this game as long as I can. You know what the movie is? With Al Pacino and Jamie Foxx.
Any given
Sunday. You think Dennis Quaid's character wanted to train up Steamin' Willie Beeman? Heck no. All right, we're over on this break. One more segment. Then we'll take a week off. We'll go to Ireland. I'll come back with a bunch of DeLorean stuff. Maybe we'll give some away on the Dan Jacobs Show coming up.
It's the ultimate showdown for a great cause.
Setting up the ultimate gold medal showdown.
On June 11th, Brandon Stokely goes head-to-head with Zach By in 100 Holes for Kids. 100 holes of golf. It's a one-day event all to raise money for Recruiting Classroom, whose mission it is to help kids play sports. Who will raise the most? That's where you come in. Pick your player, make your donation, and help kids win. To support Brandon Stokely, head to StokelyCares.com. To support Zach By, head to ZachCares.com.
DeerTrailMeatCo.com. That's DeerTrailMeatCo.com. Mr. Sosa checked in with me before the show. He's buying some Deer Trail Meat Co. this weekend. Also, somebody else on the text line hit us up. He says, Dan, I want a real thick, like 1.5 inch, 2-inch thick porterhouse and prime rib and all that stuff. Where can I go to get that? I said, what about DeerTrailMeatCo.com? They will cut. He's like, I don't know where in town where I can get that done. We need some custom butchers. I said, DeerTrailMeatCo.com will do that for you. They will cut your meat to the thicknesses you want. In fact, they have a pork chop they call the Dan Jacobs cut. That it's nice and thick, and it's not what you would normally see out of a pork chop, but they said, yeah, we're doing it for your listeners, Dan. So yes, you can get the beef and the pork you want your way. Maybe, like, for example, I don't like the round cut of beef. I would prefer more hamburger. They'll give you more hamburger. Some people like round, so they make jerky, so they keep the round. The chuck steaks, whatever. You can customize it how you want it, and they're going to deliver it to your front door with a money-back guarantee. It's fantastic. Check them out, DeerTrailMeatCo.com. That's DeerTrailMeatCo.com.
If you're practicing real estate in Denver but still not getting the results you want, listen up. Agents who are winning in this market aren't guessing. They've got the right training, the right systems, and the right support. And that's exactly what you get at Weichert Realtors Professionals. Proven strategies to win more listings, technology that keeps you connected anywhere, and coaching that actually helps you close. Take your business to the next level. Call Tim Davis at Weichert Realtors Professionals at 303-302-4000. Each Weichert franchised office is independently owned and operated.
It's no secret that the checkout line feels a lot heavier. If those daily essentials are ending up on a credit card, those double-digit interest rates are quietly draining your bank account. If that debt is starting to feel heavy, you're not alone. And if you're a homeowner, you've likely looked at your mortgage rate and thought, I can't touch that. With American Financing's Smart Equity Loan, you don't have to. It allows you to wipe out high-interest debt and lower your monthly overhead while keeping your primary mortgage intact. It's a surgical strike against debt. Unlike a fluctuating HELOC, the Smart Equity Loan is a fixed-rate loan, giving you a predictable monthly payment. At American Financing, there are never any upfront fees to find out what you qualify for. Guys, talk to a salary-based 7000. That's 303-695-7000 or visit them online at americanfinancing.net. NMLS 182334, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Running a small business means juggling a lot. Your network has to handle it all. That's where a fiber-only provider falls short. You deserve a partner who gives you a greater advantage. Introducing the Total Solutions Advantage only from Comcast Business. A first-ever combination of the largest, fastest fiber-powered network, the most reliable Wi-Fi, gig speeds with equipment and security included, and a 5-year price lock. Plus, it's all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. The Total Solutions Advantage only from Comcast Business. A new standard for small business with reliability, security, and savings in one. When you add it all up, no one does business like Comcast Business.
Switch today. Get started for $60 a month for 12 months when you add an advanced solution to a qualifying internet package. Limited time offer. New customers only. Requires 300 megabits per second internet, security edge, and additional qualifying service. 1-year agreement, paperless billing, and autopay with bank account required. Taxes and fees extra. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA Fixed Broadband Experience Report, May 2025.
Who helps keep Colorado's wildlife wild? Our people do.
Hello, my name is Patricia. I've been with Chevron for over 17 years.
Her team uses GPS to track where mule deer and pronghorn roam throughout the seasons. This data helps us take their habitats into consideration when planning our operations.
When we created our comprehensive wildlife and conservation program, it was really about what was possible.
Learn more at colorado.chevron.com.
It's the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
All right, final segment of the Dan Jacobs Show. Said we're going to the DeLorean Festival in Northern Ireland. So we'll be gone for just 1 week. We'll be back 2 weeks from now. Dan, actually, there was a couple texts here on the RamosLaw.com text line. Couple season ticket holders saying, like one guy said, I've had tickets for 27 years. I think even when they've sucked, they've raised the prices every year except for maybe like 4 or 5 when they knew they couldn't get away with it. They've raised season ticket prices. So yes, the prices of the tickets are going to go up. Mike in Thornton writes, Dan, if the Broncos owners aren't charging PSLs, then they would be looking for a ballot measure for a tax to help build the new stadium. So fans are caught in the crossfire, and if the fans don't pay, then the Broncos are moving like the Bears are. Mike and Thornton, P.S. I would not pay $50,000 either. Well, why, Mike? Not why wouldn't you pay the $50,000, but why would they need... By the way, you don't think they're getting already favorable treatment? They actually went to the government and said, hey, yeah, you know that land you want? We want it. Sell it to us. And by the way, we're not even going to pay you what you paid for it, 4 or 5 years ago?
That's called real motion, Dan.
Real motion. Can you imagine, like in life, you just go around and go, you know what? I want to do that. I just want that. That's theirs. It's mine now. Right? I mean, that's what they've done. And you don't, that's, by the way, that's why they said, well, that's our, at first they called it the preferred site because they wanted to put some heat on the government. They always wanted to dangle out there, well, Lone Tree wants us. By the way, it's good business to go, okay, where can we get the most favorable rates and incentives and infrastructure to build this stadium? I don't begrudge that at all. But why is it a one-way street and that they have absolutely no obligation to the fans, right? They can do whatever they want to the fans. They can charge whatever the market says, but the fans have an obligation to finance their assets. By the way, they have a perfectly good stadium that we paid for. And Power Field, you go to it, it still looks brand new. So why do we need to finance it? Well, when Empower Field, there was an argument when Empower Field was built, and Pat Bowlen did float this out there, not that he would move the team, but that we need to be able to stay up, to invest in the team and be competitive with the other teams in the league. We got to have a new stadium where we can maximize revenues, as opposed to Mile High Stadium, where it's a great stadium. We all love it, but there's so many missed opportunities from a business perspective that if the Niners and the Bears and the Raiders are getting all this revenue from this and from their stuff and we aren't, we're going to be also Rams because we will lose our competitive edge. And in Pat Bowlen's case, he didn't have the money. Right? Jerry Jones actually didn't even really have all that money either, but he said, you know what, you guys give me, I think it was like $700 million. And then I'll put in the rest. And he ended up having to find, what do you think his net worth is now? $20, $50 billion? Because he's going to make the money off the stadium. So what Pat Bowlen said was, guys, I love the Broncos. You know that. I put everything I have into the Broncos. I don't have a team. And the new owners, I can't tell you what, I have no idea what they would do. They may say, we're going to LA, like Kroenke did with like his hometown team in the Rams. So with the Bowlens, it made sense. With the Walton Penner Group, why do we have some obligation to finance their fortune? Because that's what we're talking about. Not just pay for tickets, but, give them tax breaks to help them build a stadium. They can afford to build a stadium. Stan Kroenke built a stadium, and now he's suing the taxpayers for $400 million out in L.A. These are the richest of the rich in the world. Why do we have to, one way or another, as the texter's pointing out, and I'm not taking shots at you, Mike. I understand what you're saying. You're not being malicious. There's some truth to that. But why, as a society, do we have some obligation to finance their fortune? Because that's all we're talking about. They have a perfectly good stadium they can play in. They want to build a Broncos land so they can become trillionaires, I guess. I don't know. But okay, fine, do it. Why do we have to chip in? There's no obligation for us to do that, particularly when, you know how they view us? Raise ticket prices every year, and if the PSLs go through, here's a middle finger. Pay. We have no loyalty to you. The Kroenkes have no loyalty to you. You didn't realize that when they kept their teams off the air for 5 years? They don't care. You are simply a means to more things for them, for more money, for more influence, for more yachts, more vacations, more parties they can go to, more connections, more networking. They don't care about the fans. So why do the fans have an obligation when not even the entire ownership group, just one, Robson Walton, before he bought the Broncos, he was going to be the richest owner in the NFL, and I think he had 50 or 60 million. He's got triple that now in 4 years. You're talking about 50 million to almost billion to $150 billion. Just him. That doesn't include all the money his daughter and his son-in-law have, who they just bought 40% of the Rockies. They have their own money. They're Walmart heirs. Why on earth do we have some obligation to make them, to finance them getting more real estate? That's what we're talking about. We are because we love the Broncos so much, it's our obligation to pay for their fortune, to make them richer and richer and richer. The guy's got $150 billion. He could scratch out a check for $5 billion for this new development and not even miss it. And I try to be objective. Like I've said, I don't expect Stan Kroenke to throw $200 of bad money, set it on fire, even though he could afford it, to bring back this underachieving group of quitters in the Denver Nuggets. I don't care how much money he has. I'd rather him give that money to charity. So I'm not saying that. A lot of people say, well, Stan Kroenke's rich. He should just pay whatever taxes. No, not if we're talking $200 million. So I want to be fair. I want to be objective. And I think I am. I don't think, and by the way, well, I didn't even get into it. All this crazy money in sports, it makes me, Russell Wilson is going to make millions of dollars to ruin our Sundays. Why? And who's going to pay for it? The ridiculous streaming services to be able to watch the NFL or whatever. The fans are getting the shaft so that this game will create hundreds of millionaires and billionaires.
Let's rock.
I don't think we have a responsibility to make the Walton Penner Group richer. I think they have a responsibility to have a little gratitude for the fact that we've increased their fortune tremendously. All right, that's all I have for now. Sean Boyd, great job out of you. We will talk to you 2 weeks from yesterday. Thanks for listening to the Dan Jacobs Show.
He's Judge Dan J. He doesn't mean no harm, but he doesn't mind telling you he's right, you are wrong. He's reading your text, he's taking your calls. It's the Dan Jacobs Show, and he'll decide what the law will allow. He's making your day the only way he knows how, by giving you the facts, cutting through the BS now. He's Judge Dan J. He doesn't mean no harm, but he doesn't mind telling you he's right and you are wrong.
With their recent run of good play and the Nuggets and Avalanche being done, are the Rockies playing for something more than just wins and losses right now?
You've got, how many weeks before training camp? End of July? You've got almost 2 months now as a Rockies team to recapture the fascination of a sleeping giant when it comes to baseball.
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
It's home selling season. And what's the biggest mistake you can make when selling your home? Settling for less money. That never happens with Orchard. Low ball offers can wear you down, causing you to settle for thousands less. You don't have to settle when you sell with an Orchard agent. Orchard reinvented the real estate industry by guaranteeing your home sale. Their local agents help you sell on market for top dollar. First, Orchard gives you cash up front to buy and move into your new home first, on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then, once you're settled in, your Orchard agent helps you sell your home on market for top dollar. Here's what one customer said. I went under contract within 24 hours of my home listing, which was amazing. With Orchard, you never have to settle for less. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Curious how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.